Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Octane Online Racing. We're here for a good one. The first round of Season 2 of our Simrigs Le Mans Ultimate Series for OR. Tonight, we'll be watching an intense matchup between the GT3s and the hypercars at the amazing Portimao. My name is Jaden Ronzanella, also known as Loopty, and I'm joined tonight in the comms booth by Tim Gob. How are you tonight, Gobby?
Doing great. I'm excited to see some multi-class racing. Season 2 of Le Mans Ultimate, obviously. This is gonna be a good one, I think. How about you? What about you?
I am very excited. This is looking like it's going to be good. The weather's looking good out there. Some awesome lineups of cars out on the track there. We're watching a Cadillac at the moment. Loving the paint scheme. Obviously, we're going to have a few issues tonight. Le Mans Ultimate is still a very early access game, it seems. So if you do notice any broadcasting issues, don't mind. We will get them sorted as soon as we can. But yes, this is looking like a great one. The hypercars looking very strong. Just a few of them out there. GT3s really taking control of the field with how many there are of them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised there isn't more hypercars. I wasn't expecting to see so many GT3s. Obviously, with our other sprint series in ACC, you would think that a lot of these drivers, they would want to drive something different, but it's really surprising to see that many GT3s on field. And I think with the blue flag rules for multi-class racing, it's going to make it very interesting for the LMDH, because obviously in multi-class the GT3s do not have to move out the way. It's the LMDHs that are going to have to find a way around the GT3. So this should be really interesting for the front of the pack.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also a lot of familiar names coming across from our ACC community. You see Lucas Keys, Thistlethwaite, and a few others out there. Jamie Comboy, Bushel, just to name a few. But it's looking like a stacked field as well. So a lot of fast drivers ready to go, and some people who especially specialize in this game. I know for a fact a few drivers have completely quit out of ACC and moved across to here. So interested to see how well they drive across the track. I'm not too sure on this track. I've never actually seen it myself. I guess I haven't been watching for long enough, but yeah, it's looking like a decent track, so it should be good. Keys, Lucas's right-hand brother. Yeah, I'd say so. It is just Lucas Keys, but having a three-namer, of course. We love our three-namers in OR.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but yeah, that is Lucas Keys. It is not someone else. In a GT3 this season, he was driving the hypercar last season, decided to give the GT3s a shot. But that should be good racing there. And I am noticing something, if I'm correct. This is unlike last season where everyone had the track to their own for qualifying. This looks like they put the LM GT3s and hypercars in qualifying together. So this should make qualifying interesting as well, as all the LMU drivers wouldn't have been used to qualifying with other cars, obviously. So should see interesting.
And there's another thing to note is that with them being hypercars and GT3s on the track, it is obviously the hypercars have to make a safe way around the GT3s. The GT3s have kind of almost like a priority. They stay on their line, and because the hypercars have way more power, they just have to take the outside line or something to get around the GT3. So it might actually, I'd say it screws over the hypercars a bit more than those GT3 cars, but you know, I think it's a good decision. Makes for more of an interesting qualifying, keeps it busy out there. And because we don't really have that long time of qualifying, it's not like we can go between each person's lap and watch them individually, so it gives more screen time to everybody. But they are setting their laps, and those angry hypercars are flying through. I do love the sound of them in this game, so the sound design is decent. Not too sure on the Porsche, but you know, we're fine with that.
Nah, it's not that bad. Could be a bit better. I wish I could hear that gearbox whine a bit more in the Porsche. It really isn't that bad. A lot of people don't like it. I don't mind it. Like I said, I wish I could hear the gearbox a bit more, but can't have everything, as we're starting to have our first laps with Curry with a 35.1.6 ahead of Gibbons. That seems like a banker to me. But obviously, just like you, I don't know Portimao that well, so I am unsure what is a proper good lap on this track.
Yeah, and look, oh, geez, it looks like the cars are flying off of that. it looks like a decent lap anyway. 6/10 in front of Gibbons, which is, oh, never mind, 35 almost flat there in the Cadillac. Oh, and it's taken back with a 33.6. So I think you were right with calling that a banker lap. That's a big improvement there from that one. So yeah, these drivers just putting out, and of course, don't mind. So if you notice on the left, our timing board there, the red cars are our hypercars and the orange ones are our GT3s. So that is what you are looking at with the timing board on the left. In the top left, you'll also see when we have our yellow flags. As you can see, it's a little symbol, not as exposed as we do in ACC, but that is fine. Another thing to note, later on tonight we have split red. Make sure you stick around for some more ACC action. The final race at Spa in variable weather, that is looking like a good split as well. But Gobby, are you excited for the race? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to crash?
Obviously, I'm hoping nobody crashes, ideally. It sucks when you crash, especially if it's terminal damage. It's just completely demoralizing, and we just makes you not want to race. So I'm hoping for clean but really hard racing, especially once those hypercars come around the GT3s and get involved in the GT3 battles while they're trying to pass themselves in their own battles. I think it's going to be really excited. Another rule I have noticed is if hypercars do not qualify for the race, they are forced to do a pit lane start. So even if you can't put a banker lap in, you should be trying to put somewhat of a lap in. As we can see the Glickenhaus behind the GT3, that they have a bit of contact there. He just wants to get through and get a better time. That is the Glickenhaus of McLaughlin. Probably a bit frustrated, 3 seconds down from Curry, and with 3 minutes left to do qualifying, he doesn't have much more time to set in a proper banker.
I think looking at that, he might have even had a better shot just going to the outside there, because he would have had more speed coming out of the turn, but obviously not the choice made there. As he gets a bit loose, that was a big lockup, and he's really, it looks like he's a bit more aggressive behind his GT3. He's just trying to push past as quickly as he can. Again, you don't want to be stuck. Now that rule on the hypercars getting a pit start if they don't do a qualifying lap does come from the last round of last season, which wasn't streamed due to not enough being able to be done. Well, here's a replay of that. Is it? Oh, I don't know.
The lightest touch.
Yeah, just a little bit of a touch. Lucky that the netcode held together there. Jeez, it looks like a good job. But yeah, as I was saying, last season, last round, there was a few hypercars that started mid-pack from the back of the GT3s, and it just does not work out for a start of a race. So the pit start, good idea. Hopefully the hypercars are able to make their way through the GT3 safely. Should be a good one though from them. Still hitting the 33, still the fastest time there, 133.3 with Thistlethwaite with a 1.5 seconds behind. So what's that, a 134.8? Yeah, 134.8 should be.
Yeah. Obviously, I think the HUD could use a bit of work in this. We don't have a track map. It'd be nice to be able to see the actual laps the cars behind have set, because I don't know about you, I am not the greatest at math. So being able to know the exact lap time they did would be much better, but yeah, that works as well.
Yeah, so just that Aston has been everywhere today. But another thing, that's a spin. The car getting loose. Yep, so just again, for those wondering, as Diabol's put in the chat, those wondering about the kind of floating a little, it's because the servers are all in Europe. We are pushing to get the servers into Australia, or at least closer. Give us some in Asia or something, that would be great. But yeah, at the moment, we'll of course have a few issues here and there, but if the drivers are handling okay, it should be good. Yeah, I'm excited. There's definitely some strong cars out there. If you do notice, some of the cars will have the same car number as well. That is just due to me using the same livery because there's no custom liveries in yet, or changing of numbers. So it's, yeah, you'll notice a few of the same liveries, same car numbers and everything.
Yeah, it does get quite confusing as we have 3 777 Aston Martins. Obviously, the game's still in early access. At the very least, in my opinion, they could have at least allowed the drivers to get their own numbers. I know custom liveries are coming, but you will need to have, I think it's RaceNet plus subscription to be able to use custom liveries. So people that aren't willing to pay for a subscription will still be stuck with what you get given in game. Unless they get to change their numbers, it's just gonna be confusing.
Yeah. Just trying to get up. I've been sent a timing board. I'm just trying to get it up right now, so we might actually be able to have a look ourselves at where everybody is. It's currently not working for me, so I'm not going to worry too much. This is still owned by Motorsport Games. They've technically not gone under yet, but there's something on the horizon. It's a decent game, so I think it's decent enough that someone might even buy Motorsport Games out, or at least the game out. Yeah, so this is looking like it's going to be a good one. I love some of the camera stuff. It seems good for a start, and yeah, we are on for a good one tonight. The qualifying now over. I'm going to let Gobby read out the names once we actually do have everybody through past the finishing line for the top 3 of both the GT3s and the hypercars. And then we'll be set up for the formation lap. I do believe we do a formation lap during the LMU races.
Yep, it's a short formation lap, so they won't go around the whole track as we see McLaughlin abandoning the lap, going back into the pit. So, looks like this is qualifying over. So the top 3 for the LMDH class will be Curry in the Alpine, Gibbons in the Caddy, and Bushell in the Peugeot. Now, I'm not sure if that's a wingless Peugeot or the Peugeot with the wing. I've heard there was a bet about being on the podium with a wingless Peugeot, so if it is a wingless Peugeot, that would be really, really impressive. That is an old gen LMDH car, and it is a wingless Peugeot. Look at that.
Look at
Go
that.
on, Mark
really
Bushell.
Cool
That's
order.
impressive. So we got the rest of the grid for the hypercars. In 7th, we got McLaughlin. P1 for GT3s will be Lucas Keys, followed by Ash Johnston and Graham Hill for the 5th row of the grid. In row 6, we've got Jacob Maggs and Jamie Comboy, followed by row 7 in the Corvette, Jimmy Farrar and Miles Johnston in the McLaren. In row 8, we've got Simon Van Graden in P15 with Elwood in P16. In P17, we've got our own Damiano Turcolini and Nate James, followed by Ryan Smith and John Heislip in row 10. And that will be our grid for this race.
Okay. So I do want to say that was a really cool timing board thing.
That's really cool.
It showed a list of where they came. I like that. That was really actually sick.
I was not ready for it.
But that's all right. This is going to be fun now. As we are doing our formation lap, and of course, our hypercars out in front, as you just saw right out as well. I think they do have collisions on during the starting formation lap. That is a car in the pits. Was that a hypercar or was that a...
That's a safety car, Luke.
That's... No. There was another car driving in the pits. Come on, man. You think I would?
Sure.
Yeah, two hypercars in the pits. McLaughlin and Thistlethwaite are in the pits.
Oh, that's interesting.
Maybe a penalty?
Unsure, but we're about to start. Luke, I'll let you start the race.
All right, as we head off into the first turn around the track, you see the two cars in the pits, the hypercars. They're coming around. It looks like 2x2 on the back 4 cars, but the Cadillac making its way through, given the formation has not changed, still the same order. The GT3s at the back here, we have had a few passes. Not sure 100%, but still side by side as they're coming around into the third turn of Lagos there, I believe, and we're coming onto one of the straights of the track. This is a long one. Lucas Keys still holding up the front with Hill just behind Mags, not too far behind that as well. Well, Jamie Convoy looking for a move on the outside, maybe a switchback. Looks like he's going to take that outside line. Oh, but it doesn't work out. A little bit of a punt from the McLaren behind him. Porsche on the inside, taking advantage of a little bit of a tiny move from Jamie Convoy, which didn't work out. But now JC has the inside in that Aston. Should maybe get around better. He's not too sure of the track yet. It seems like he makes it with a little bit of a swiggle at the end there. He's got that Porsche still sitting there, but he's made the room. Now the Porsche is in a battle with the McLaren behind. Not too much of space. The Porsche has gone off. I wonder if that's contact. The hypercars have come in. Oh, and there's contact between the hypercar and the Porsche.
That wasn't the safest rejoin. I'm unsure why these hypercars started in the pits, because they did set a lap, so perhaps they forgot to press ready. But this is gonna mess things up for the GT3s, as those hypercars are desperately trying to get through the field and into the pack with the rest of the other 5 hypercars at the front. But the longer they spend behind the GT3s, the further away the pack in front is going to get. So they're probably rushing through, maybe being a bit overly aggressive, but it looks like they're about to pass the rest of the GT3s into turn 1, and now they're going to have to chase down the rest of the pack in their class.
Yeah, and Jamie Convoy, who we're still on board with, currently in a battle with Johnston. This is a bit of a switch up. Johnston is in the McLaren here. Jamie Convoy, and who is normally a McLaren driver, at least in ACC, is currently in the Aston. So this is a little bit of a fun game. And then you've got other Johnston, because there's also 2 Johnston in here, in the Aston leading the GT3s at the moment. So he's made his way around Lucas Keys somewhere along the line, has gained a little bit of time there, but looks like maybe a little bit of mistake moving around. Thistlethwaite making his way up the field, almost at the front too, to bring him back up to the rear of the pack of the top 5. But there, again, 21 seconds, now 22 seconds behind the last driver of the hypercar. So a lot of space to make up now. McLaughlin not too far behind Thistlethwaite, so there might be a good battle at the back there. Johnston here currently in front of Thistlethwaite. Thistlethwaite not sure where he's going to go, not realizing that Johnston is just trying to hold on to his line. The hypercars having to be patient and not wanting to cause a mistake, because that's heavy penalties for them. I believe a drive-through is the most little penalty they can give, apart from a redress. So yeah, and both the hypercars have made it through. It seems mostly safe, not many incidents along there, but it's been a pretty good first lap, I'd say. I think we finished the first lap now. Not sure how long each lap is. As that is them going across the line there, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm expecting if I'm seeing 33s in quality, I expect hypercars to do 34s, 35s at the front. If the slower ones will be in the 36, 37s. But Curry not really flying away from Bushel. Oh, never mind. Bushel is already 3.5 behind. As he's closing the gap, he was about 4 seconds behind earlier. And he is 4 seconds behind again, so that's perhaps the timing board just calculating every single parts of the track on like ACC, where it updates every sector or so. As we're currently on board with Lucas Keys, still chasing down Johnston in the Aston. Johnston about a second ahead of Lucas, not quite. So Lucas, a very, very quick driver. So, and very smart as well. He won't go for a move. He's very, very patient. He's got an hour or 55 minutes of this race. So perhaps just waiting for an opportunity to pass Johnston and just maybe saving his tires, saving fuel, before making the pass on Ashley Johnston. Yeah, as we are currently looking at Jamie Conboy in the other 777 Aston chasing down Van Graden. So I'm unsure, did Van Graden start behind JC? Or was it the other way around? I'm pretty sure he started behind.
I feel like JC lost a few positions. I thought he was up a little bit more, maybe in 13th, maybe lost some off the line. But yeah, he looks like he's trying to make his way back through it nonetheless, and it looks like he's going to do the pass on the straight. So he must have had a better exit out of that turn there onto the main straight, which is a good one. So very good work from him there. Oh, the other Aston getting very close, right up behind. Would have scared JC now that he probably has mirrors on in this game at least. So yeah, very close between those two. I do think that he did start further up the field, but not too sure anymore. We also, just to mention, the James in the Porsche 92 at the very back, 20th on the grid, was already in the pits. I'm wondering if there was, maybe he was the one who had the collision with the hypercar a bit earlier on.
I thought that was Turcolini. It's possible it was James. That's the problem with all these liveries being the same, and the timing board just makes it hard to detect which is which. But it is possible it'd be James, but it did not look like major contact, so I don't think the GT3s need to pit this race. But perhaps he just thought the car is just undrivable, decided to fix his damage. Maybe that would be part netcode, so although it looked like it wasn't that bad of contact. And as James DNFs decides, you know what, I've had enough of this, and retires from the race.
Yeah, look, a bit of an unlucky start, and it's, again, it probably comes down to a bit of netcode or something, so a bit sad to see James out of the race, but as it goes, probably, it could have been, because James was back out on the track, I believe, so it could even be that he just took too much damage, maybe had another crash or something out there. Not too 100% sure, but yeah, that's all right. Lucas Keys, obviously making his way around the track right now. We're currently on board with him in the Porsche. Not too far behind Johnston. They do have a little bit of proximity. Hill also seen in the background there in the McLaren. Not too far as well. That's what, about 3 seconds off. So making his way up the field a little bit. Convoy slowly catching up to Farrar in the, what is that car? Is that the Corvette?
Yeah, that will be the Corvette of Farrar.
So if you return to pits at DNFs, you have to get a car. I did not know that, so that does make a little bit of sense then. Look at the amount of sparks that fly off when they're making that left turn there, because the cars are that low, just they're that low to the ground. The camber's obviously making the car lean enough to get the sparks going off.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice about this track. It's a lot of up and down, so there's going to be a lot of compression as they get to the bottom of the hill. So that'd be probably why you'd see a lot of sparks here. We see a race start on board of, not sure who that is, but maybe there's something interesting that happened in the GT3 field. Perhaps that's JC in front, or nope, that would be, what I'm guessing is Ashley Johnston, as that's the Porsche of Lucas Keys. Very cool camera angle. Perhaps you're going to see something happening there.
So that was, I believe, J Mags in the BMW there, which is a livery, the only BMW on the track, I believe. So good to see someone driving it. They recently did have an update which updated the BOP. I know the Porsche got a bit of a nerf and some other cars got played around it. So BMW used to be one of the more powerful cars. It seems to still be upholding a decent amount of speed. Mags obviously a good driver. As you can see, he's in 4th currently in the GT3s. Yep, 4th. Sorry, that timing board gets me a little bit confused. But yeah, we're looking at that a little bit of server delay. Oh, this is M. Johnston, currently in a little bit of battle with the Aston of Gradon still keeping his position. Johnston, I'm guessing, getting a little bit loose on exit there.
I reckon he's gonna be made to give the position back. Nah, I reckon he was told to give the position back because he did pass back Johnston on out of the track, and I'm pretty sure that is one of the rules they're implementing. Is if that's probably the race director telling him, please give the position back, as he was off track when Johnston passed him.
Yep, and that makes sense. It as it should be, because you can lose a whole race because of that. So yeah, Johnston currently now in front of Convoy. Sorry, Gradon. It's Aston's, am I right? Convoy still not really getting close enough to Ferrari yet, just a little bit away. But we're jumping on back on with the hyperboards, hypercars. I believe we're on with, who are we on with right now?
That is the Alpine of Curry. And it looks like he's already catching the GT3, so it's only been 11 minutes of this race and he's already to the back of the GT3s. That's just a pace differential between the hypercars and GT3s. He's going to want to get through them as fast as possible and not let Bushel close the gap. Obviously, Bushel himself is going to have to get through the GT3s as well. So that's another thing about endurance multi-class racing is you gotta be good at traffic management. If you're not good at it and you can't pass a GT3 safely, you could lose a heap of time just trying to get through.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can already see how like when they're hitting the GT3s, because the timing board becomes a little bit closer. Bushel gaining almost a second while they're going through there. We're currently on board with Lucas Keys, not far behind Johnston. A nice camera angle with their cars featured in the bottom. This is a nice little layout thing, so we can see where they are, who's in the battle, what car they're in, what position they're in. I like this.
Yeah, obviously, still needs a lot of work, but there's a lot of things about this that I really like. This is one of them. The starting grid, I think, is a fantastic feature. So there is a couple of things in broadcasting this that is better than ACC, I will say, and definitely this is one of them.
Yep, and oh my god.
Look at that. Now that's beautiful, because now we can see a nice big image of his throttle input, his brake inputs, his virtual energy, the gear is in, the speed he's reaching, and we're even getting how much pressure he's putting on the brake and how he's applying his brakes into the corners. So this is really good. I really like this.
A lot of useful information. Now, my wonder is the energy something to do with his fuel? Because I'm not too sure on how this game simulates all its stuff. Is the energy for the fuel, or is that a whole different thing?
Energy in the LMU is basically the bop of the car. So each cars will use energy a bit differently. Some cars will use it faster, some cars will use it slower, and it's basically how they bop in this series. And obviously you can save energy by lift and coasting, so it's basically, you can think of it as a second fuel tank.
Okay, yep, yeah, that makes sense. Lucas Keys, obviously no one shy to the Porsche, driving it, I believe, last season in the ACC Sprint Series that we had going on. He's driving quite well tonight to this track. I believe a lot of these drivers are coming in arrive and drive. I'm not sure about Lucas. He seems to know the track too well to be arrive and drive, but we are seeing a hypercar approach him. Which one is that? That would be Curry in the Alpine?
Yep, that is the
French,
Alpine of Curry. Yep, it's pronounced Alpine, and he is about to get past of the front runners GT3s right on the straight, so this is a perfect time to pass them. Not impeding the GT3s, as he shouldn't be impeding the GT3s, but that is a nice safe pass for the hypercar. So we see Bushel back 4 seconds behind, so, and I think we just saw him in this. Yeah, there he is. That's Bushel. So he has closed the gap a bit. So perhaps Bushel may be a bit luckier with the GT3 traffic, or just managing that traffic better. But this could get interesting, as there's still 45 minutes of racing left, and Curry will hit these GT3s again in about 10 minutes. So perhaps Bushel can get something done over here.
Yeah, look, it looks like he's definitely making pace through these GT3s. Maybe it's just a little bit better of traffic management or not. So yeah, he's definitely doing well to get through, and we've just been informed. So Diabol says if you go over 100% energy used, it gives you a DT from memory or a disqualification. Can't remember, but that is some useful and useful information. So yeah, it sounds like what Gobby said was pretty much on the spot. It's a bit more of a bop, a little bit of a change in it, but it seems to work for the most part. Yeah, it looks like these drivers are out here pushing to the hardest they can, getting a little bit more pace on Bushel now that they're out of traffic, but we're seeing there, right there, I believe is Gibbo coming up, and there's a yellow flag somewhere on the track. I'm wondering if someone has spun somewhere. It seems like they're back and going again because the yellow flag is gone. Yeah, Gibbons putting in the work in that Cadillac. What a great sounding hypercar, to be fair. Pushing around, or just getting on the inside of Lucas there. I believe that would have been planned, and then, yep, perfectly along onto the straight for Johnston. And then we've got, oh my, I don't want to even try that name. Can you try that name, Gobby?
I should have gonna call him Pete. So I'll just call him Pete. Peter Papiano?
Papiano?
I don't know. Just call him Pete. So that's Pete in P4 in another wingless Peugeot. So I don't know why they're driving the wingless Peugeot. There's a much better Peugeot in the game that has a wing. I think that car looks a bit goofy in my opinion. But the fact that Bushel's got it in P2 and with a pretty significant gap to Gibbo, it seems to be driving it really well. As we see.
Yellow flag, I believe.
Perhaps the yellow flag. Yeah, so gave too much throttle and just spun the car, but got it back on track pretty safely as there was no traffic anywhere near him, so good on him. I'm not sure who that was.
That was a nice and quick cleanup from that McLaren. That could be the 3 cars on this track, so whichever one it was, good work. As we are back on board with the GT3s further back, this is Johnston and Gradon again.
Graydon. Yeah.
Gradon, one of the two. Aston versus McLaren still out here on the track. It looks like Conboy just made his way past Farrar further up the grid as well. Papiano has been how it has been mentioned in the past. Okay, so it's Papiano. That makes sense. We'll go with that. Yep, there is Jamie Conboy right in front of that Corvette. I heard the Corvette is one of the nicer GT3 cars to drive, and I know people have been waiting for that in ACC for a while, so it's good that they get to use it in at least one of the video games here in OR at least. So would be a nice drive, I believe, but again, Aston is always king out here, at least for me.
I love the Corvette. I think it's a beautiful car. People were calling it a terrible car when it first came out, but that was also before the physics update for the tires, and now apparently with the new physics update it's a much nicer car to drive. As we see a replay of that Corvette going off track, and that gives JC the run to get past him, so JC just using the opportunity, as not quite actually, so I thought he would have passed him there, but looks like he passed him somewhere else on the track, and as the Corvette goes really wide, and that gives JC the opportunity to get right past him and fly off in the distance, so good on JC.
And I think a lot of this driving kind of a bit more scared of the other cars around you does come from the fact you've got so many faster cars. There's 7 hypercars on the track, so you've always got to be cautious about what car is coming up behind you. And it is a matter of being a brave game, because these cars can get close, especially with the different speeds. We're watching right now hypercar on either side of Lucas Keys, being a little bit more patient, taking the inside there of Lucas, which kind of does compromise Lucas's line, but again, if he's already there, then he's got to take it. But yeah, look, these hypercars are in an intense battle right now. They've got to push through. Wait, what has happened there? Curry's all the way in 4th.
Oh, perhaps he spun. Yeah, I just noticed that. And he's 26 seconds behind Bushel. So perhaps a big incident from Curry, but now we have a change for the lead, and we have, let's go, 2 Peugeots on the podium. Wingless Peugeot, should I say. They're gonna be happy with that. As That was a massive mistake from Curry. He must have hit the wall or something, because he was over 4 seconds ahead of Bushel before that, and now he's all the way behind Peter. So perhaps hit a wall, perhaps had a bit of snap oversteer, but that must have been a pretty massive incident.
Very, very clean racing though from these guys at the front. Bushel obviously holding on for a clean one. Here's a replay of what happened as he comes around. Coming on to
so
pitted.
He's pitted.
I'm wondering if they do need to pit this race, because I know these cars go through quite a lot of fuel, so maybe a pit stop is necessary.
Perhaps
otherwise,
you're
I don't
right.
see why you would otherwise.
Just seemed a bit early for a pit stop, as we've only been 20 minutes through the race, so
Could be doing it sooner rather than later, but again, I don't know how well that's going to work out, especially when you have a driver who's definitely making his way through the traffic a little bit better than you. Could compromise the race just a little bit for him.
yeah, but at the same time, perhaps he's pitting, hoping to get back out in front of the GT3s again, so he doesn't have to get past them once more. So it's possible that he was about to arrive on GT3 traffic and decided, you know what, this is good. Say again?
DT. It was a DT for killing James. So it was a decision from the stewards. Thank you, Linux, for letting us know. We appreciate that. So that does explain what happened there. I didn't think that an hour was long enough for a pit stop, but it was probably the only thing that I could come up with for a reason. But that does make a little bit of sense. So that would have been from a bit earlier in the race, I'd presume. We might have missed that one, but that's all right. So that gives Bushel a clear lead of 22 seconds from Curry. Gibbons 7 seconds, but very close behind him. Papiano very, very close behind, and same with this battle right here. Thistlethwaite only 2 seconds behind Eaton. So yeah, some good racing going on at the front here from these hypercars. The GT3 is not really changing much for a minute. They're looking pretty much on point there. Here's a replay of the incident between...
Oh, that was net code.
That was...
No, and I see why he had 2 RTG, because with the car on its side like that, he can't really drive it.
He got very unlucky there. I don't think James could have done anything better. Maybe James was a little bit offline, trying to maybe stay out wide so that the hypercar could go in. But
yeah, but he doesn't have to. It's the hypercar's job to get around him safely. But to me, that looked like just unlucky netcode incident. It's obviously with the servers being in Europe, this stuff tends to happen a lot more, and that's maybe why they're not racing too hard with each other, because they know stuff like this does happen in this. So yeah, no, that is very unlucky. I personally don't think Curry deserved a penalty for that one. He didn't do anything wrong, unless from James's perspective or from the steward's perspective, it did look like they hit. But I think a DT would have been a bit harsh for that.
Yeah, and look, at least they're out of it now, and there's the penalty served. It's not going to really be much of a service for James now that he's out of the race, but that's how it goes. Again, Bushel getting a really good run through there, right past the GT3s just before the straight. Seems like he's got very good timing with getting past them, so not having to pass as many through the corners. And to be fair, these are some of our faster drivers as well. As we are looking at Gradon in the Aston in front, I believe that means we're on board with Rambler. So Rambler's caught up and is right behind now. Yeah, so this is on for a very good battle right here. Yep, we are on board with Elwood Rambler, a driver that I've never seen before personally in our Sprint Series, so it might be a LMU connoisseur is one way to put it. Yeah.
LMU specialist. Obviously, this game has gotten a lot of hype, and has a bright future ahead of it. Hopefully, Those who do remember the early days of ACC, ACC was pretty terrible when it first came out, and it is now a great game. Obviously, at the end of its life, I'm personally not ready to let it go. I still prefer the GT3s in ACC. As we see a hypercar battle, as they're getting involved with the GT3s as well. This is gonna get interesting, as we see that Peter and Gibbo in a battle in the middle of GT3s. This could get nasty really quick, as there looks like there's a bit of contact. Oh boy.
No, these hypercars are very good at navigating this very well. They were side by side through a lot of that. Obviously, GT3's holding them up a decent amount. Gibbo was, I think, 2 seconds ahead of Papiano before they reached them, but now Papiano's got the slipstream and is taking the outside of T1. We'll see if he can make the move before the turn. Doesn't look like it. Looks like Gibbo's going to hold on for long enough. Yes, it's looking very... Yeah, looks like Gibbo's held on just for now. Hopefully, when they reach some more GT3s, they don't collide. They're looking... Yep, it's looking spicy. Again, net coding not helping. It makes it look like it's a lot more scary than it probably is out there. But they managed to get through that pack. That was a difficult pack to get through, and probably one of the harder parts of the course. That's where a lot of the turns are, in that third sector as well, that it's kind of hard to get that GT3 around when there's 4 cars battling.
We see Curry in the distance as well. I saw a little sneak peek of him right back there, just going for the GT3. So these two are going to have to be careful as well. Obviously, Curry, not a slow driver. He's very, very quick. So if these guys aren't careful and paying attention to their MFD, within a few laps, they might have an Alpine surprise behind them, as he will be charging back up the pack and probably aiming for P1 again. He has the pace to do it.
In that pack as well, though, they lost, I'd say, over 6 seconds to Bushel, who's currently in the lead. So Bushel obviously navigating these cars just that little bit better with probably a bit more luck as well, because a lot of it is timing luck. But you can see he's also coming onto the back of the GT3s now through the first turn. Again, not really the easiest spots to pass these cars once you're off these straights, but if he's lucky here, which I think he might be able to get him onto turn 4, that GT3. Again, back onto Gibbo and Papiano. Not too much space between them. Again, it's only a second, if that, probably half a second, I'd say, between the two, and it's just a matter of who gets held up the most. This is the Corvette and Jamie Conboy Safara and Jamie Conboy that they're trying to pass right now. An easy pass past that Corvette on this little bit of a straight, but Gibbo loses it.
Loses it, and Gibbo loses it, and that gives Papiano the run. But there's still GT3 traffic ahead, so we've been talking about this earlier, where this will get interesting if we have hypercar battles and GT3 battles at the same time, as we see Gibbo getting held up by JC. Obviously, JC not having to cede the position to Gibbo, and Gibbo just has to find a safe way around that. He does go around the outside of JC. That was a bit risky, but that's what we were talking about. Having GT3s battle and hypercars battle side by side, they're technically in a completely different race. So the GT3s don't have to give the position, so they would want to be battling as well, and they wouldn't really care about the hypercars. The hypercars are going to have to find a way around them, and that gives Pete the perfect opportunity to get past, and he's now P2. We've got a Renault P2 temporarily, provisionally, should I say, in this race. And it's not just any Peugeot, it's, again, the wingless Peugeot, so I'm sure a lot of people will be cheering for that, as we see Curry again already on the backside of Gibbo, so he's got more trouble coming for him.
And I think what happened there with Gibbo was that he was kind of expecting JC to maybe leave a little bit of a gap there on the inside, and was looking to maybe take advantage of that opportunity, not realizing that JC was setting up for a later apex, which then Gibbo's had to slam on the brakes midway through the turn, causing a little bit of that slide. But Gibbo got that car back around pretty quickly, and then needed to try to make up that time, and it looks like he has, only a second behind Papiano, with Curry again only second behind him. So it's getting very spicy up for that battle for third and second within the top 3 of the Le Mans Ultimate race. It's very scary out there for Gibbo now. As they're approaching more GT3s, this is where the trouble's going to come. He's not going to make that same mistake again. He's going to stick to the outside, try to stay off of that GT3 line to move around them quickly. It's going to be difficult for an overtake as well, as they do head towards another GT3 car. You see them going along. You can't tell if they're getting a little bit slidey because it's just that little bit of latency with everything, but that's all right. Portimao still not too far behind. It's just a matter of Gibbo holding his line and holding it straight. He might be able to keep it in front.
Obviously, as we also have Curry around the back of Gibbo. Gibbo's going to have to defend that while at the same time managing GT3 traffic. But they get through really cleanly. Obviously, the main straight, probably the best part of the track to pass, as we see Curry has a run on Gibbo, and I think unfortunately for Gibbo, he's gonna make that one stick as he goes a bit wide, and Gibbo keeps the position for now, but that will also slow down. He has another bit of a slide. So could we see tire wear getting into effect here? Obviously, they've been racing pretty hard, so it looks like the rears perhaps just losing their grip a little bit, and the car just feels a bit more slidey.
Yeah, and look, you're expecting that. We're now over 30 minutes into the race. These cars are pushing themselves very hard. Gibbo's lost 3 seconds now on Portimao, so it obviously wanting to probably play a bit more defensive here. And Curry's going to kind of show himself a bit more on the inside. He's seeing him put himself in a position to be seen in the mirrors of Gibbo, kind of probably trying to put a little bit of fear to incite a mistake there. But yeah, these cars are very stable for the most part if you know how to drive them, and if you're doing it well. But you're seeing, look how low that energy is already on the on Curry's car, who we're currently on board with. It's quite low. I'm wondering if that's the normal for this car, especially this far into the race, or if he's going to have to start to kind of just let the car glide a little bit more.
I reckon they're going to have to do a pit stop because there's still just past 28 minutes left to the race, and that energy looked way past halfway. So perhaps they will have to do a pit stop. If they do, it would make this race even more interesting. As some of you may not know, in this, even in the pits, you still have contact enabled, so it caught a few drivers by surprise. I know it caught JC by surprise last race as he ran into someone in the pits, not knowing, unlike ACC, where you can just go straight through the opponent's car. In this, collisions are still enabled, so it can make pitting a bit tight, especially if your pit box is in front of someone else that's in the pits. It makes things definitely much more interesting, and does catch some people by surprise. As you see, Gibbo still holding the position on Curry. Let me tell you, someone that's gonna be loving this is Portimao, as he builds a bigger gap on Gibbo, which means he's also building a bigger gap on Curry until Curry manages to pass Gibbons.
Yeah, and look, Gibbons is a very, very good driver, especially in LMU, so it's going to be difficult for Curry to make this pass. He has caught getting yellow flags up on that top left, so Hignett is doing our cameras for tonight. He's doing his best to find where these situations are. Obviously, it's a little bit harder with no track map for us, but he'll do his best to see if we can find all of the incidents that do happen. Obviously, some are missed. That is a hypercar of Thistlethwaite coming out of the pits. I'm wondering if that is another DT, or if that is the car just needing to pit stop. We're getting a little bit of information that might have been the hybrid energy, not the virtual one, for the hypercars there, by the way.
I don't think so. So the way the hybrid energy works in this, it doesn't give you more power. It makes it so the car uses less fuel. So the hybrid energy, you use it tactically to perhaps save fuel. Maybe you underfueled a bit and you're using the hybrid to go a bit longer with less fuel in the tank, as we have a replay of Van Graden, and another 777 Aston. There's 3 of them. I am not sure. As we see him spin into the grass, keeps it out of the wall, and gets back on track rather safely.
That was very clean right there, so very nice. We've had a decently clean race, I'd like to say, from at least from our perspective up here in the comms box. Not much that we can see really outside of what we're watching, which is all right. Curry just a little bit outside of the range of Gibbo, but I think now they're coming out onto another straight. This might be the opportunity for him to make the pass and get it back into third. The timing board's already showing him in third. That's... Am I crazy? Oh, wait, Bush was in the pits. That's why. So, yes, a pit stop is necessary for these cars, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like they will have to all do a pit stop. I know a couple drivers in Fuji tried to do I think you had to do a 2-stopper, and they tried to do a 1-stopper. Did not quite work out for Lucas Keys, as he ran out of fuel before the start-finish line. But it definitely looks like they will have to do a pit stop. And this is really going to be damaging Curry's race unless he can get past Gibbon. Obviously, Curry has insane pace in these cars. Another thing about these cars is that they do not have ABS, so you do have to be good on the brakes. If you do end up locking up, you end up getting flat spots, and it becomes horrible to drive. Your steering wheel starts shaking, and it just becomes a really unpleasant ride. So perhaps they're being a bit careful, because I'm not seeing Curry getting the runs he used to have on Gibbo earlier on the start-finish line. So again, it looks like perhaps the tire wear is getting to him. Maybe dirty air plays a factor in this. As we see Thistlethwaite right behind Curry, he's going to be looking to get past him.
Yeah, and especially coming up towards the pit stop time, and making up as many positions as you can, especially after a drive through is important. Thistlethwaite, I think, is a lap down, because I believe he's in 6th currently. Yeah, oh, a little bit of slide there. I'm wondering if that's cold tires after he's come out of the pits.
By now, surely his tires would have warmed up. That just looked like perhaps too much braking. Perhaps from his perspective, he was about to hit Curry and just had to slam on the brakes as he's right on the outside of him. But there's a GT3 in the way as he tries to get past Curry, but doesn't manage to make the move. Obviously, if he is a lap down, he would technically be unlapping himself. But if they do have to pit, that means Curry, and as we see at the Aston of Van Graden again off the track. So I'm wondering what's going on with him. Maybe the slides are giving his tires flat spot and he just doesn't have the grip he used to.
Yeah, and we don't know the temperature on the track, so it could be just a little bit cold or even too hot out there. But yeah, it's looking like he might have. Look at that slide. I'm wondering if he is having issues with his tires, or maybe he didn't change tires and just did a refuel or something. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are on the pit stops with the hypercars, but he's just looking a little bit more slidey out there than the others who have been out a bit longer. So I'm wondering if maybe he didn't change his tires. There could be cold coming out of those pits.
We see Curry trying to make a move down the inside very late on the brakes, but doesn't make it move, as we see another Aston going off the track. So yes, I think tire wear is playing a big factor in this, and I don't think they have to change tires, so most of them will be doing a splash and dash. Yeah, so perhaps Curry should be thinking about perhaps pitting and doing the undercut on Gibbo, because he does have the pace advantage, but Gibbo just very good at making his car really wide and making it really hard for Curry to get past him. So they're running out of time, as there is only 20 minutes left to this race. Curry's going to have to do something, because we have Pete and obviously Bushell, if they do have to pit, is going to have a massive lead on them.
Yeah, Papiano obviously in the lead because of the pit stop from Bushell, has done a little bit. Ethan, I feel like that Toyota has not really been in and out of the pack too much, maybe just a little bit further behind. Again, a lot of these drivers are newer to the game as well, with it being so new, and these tracks don't obviously get driven as much as some of the others that we've seen around. 20 minutes remaining obviously of the race, so still heaps of time for anything to happen. Probably just wanting to sit behind these guys until they do pit, getting that little bit of extra slipstream as he is behind them. Again, not much of a change on the field, maybe just a few little ones, but Convoy has made his way up the field quite a lot. He's now in 12th, which puts him 5th within the GT3s, and that's a very good race for someone who's come here and arrived to drive. And yep, as they're making their way around another GT3, just see how much those GT3s back the hypercars up with how close they get. And looking for a way down the inside, but not achieving it. Obviously not a better acceleration out of that corner. Gibbo's still holding on strong. He just holds on for this clean race and doesn't do any more spins. He could be on for a second place.
At the moment, it is looking like Pete, unless the no stop is possible, but I highly doubt it is possible if Bushell had to pit. Yeah, now this battle's getting ready. I think he goes off the track, and it looks like Curry finally got the move done. And also we have Tisselwaite right behind him. And it's getting really interesting because there's still GT3 traffic in front of them. But yeah, just Gibbo couldn't handle the pressure anymore. Perhaps pushing his tires a bit too much. Maybe now it's the time for him to get into the pits, get a pit stop done, and get back out on track. As he still stays on, perhaps wants to use the slipstream, perhaps trying to stay behind Curry, maybe follow him into the pits. But nah, that was a good move from Curry, very opportunistic. Gibbo made a mistake, and he took full advantage of it.
And I think that's exactly what you need to do, is just take advantage of those little situations that do happen. And because it can happen at any time, it can work out for Gibbo as well, because maybe Curry could have a little bit of trouble with even a GT3 coming up or something. But so far, he's shown great pace and great ability to get around these GT3s very well. So could be still on for a nice battle, but Curry out in front. Here's a replay of it. Just taking that advantage of Gibbo trying to look for the outside, and yeah, just sends it up the inside where the McLaren isn't anymore, and Gibbo kind of gets stuck there for a minute, keeping it in front of this weight just because he's on the inside there. Still that GT3 just a little bit in the way, but yeah, it looks like he's just taken perfect advantage of the situation and made the move very well. Already gaining a bit of time there, 3 seconds to maybe 2 seconds ahead now of Gibbo, and still not catching up to Papiano too much, still 11 seconds behind there of the leader, who is currently pitting, so we'll see where he does come out, as they do come out onto the, I believe this is the straight now.
Yep, so Curry staying out, perhaps Pitt is going to pit at the very end. We'll have to see if Papiano is going to change tires, but I highly doubt it. I reckon he's just gonna fill up his energy just enough to last what will be around 15 minutes. So looks like a pit stop is mandatory. I am not sure what these yellow and green dots mean.
I believe that's the tires they were on and the tires they are on. I'm gonna say let me do a little bit of research and I'll get back to you.
Obviously, we're still learning this as well. I've never seen this on the HUD, so could be that, could mean they changed tires as well, could mean they only filled up energy and fuel, could mean they only filled up energy. Unsure at the moment. Or perhaps a couple DTs. I know Curry had a DT, but I don't think he actually stopped to pit. So, yeah, now unsure about that one.
Yeah, look, not too sure what it means. It could, I would be willing to believe it's whether they have served their pit stop or not. It looks like, if I'm right by that, that would mean that only the GT3s have to do, only the hypercars have to pit stop. Oh no, that's if they've done a pit stop. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure on what that is. That was tyres, it said though, so I believe it would be a change of tyres or something along those lines, whether they did and what tyres maybe they went to. But yeah.
I just figured something out. Only the hypercars have the orange dot and the GT3s have the black dot, so I think all it means that the orange dot are the hypercars and the black dots are the GT3s. That's all it is, and the green dot is if they did a pit stop.
Oh, okay, so the green might have been they changed tyres, and then the blacks are the GT3s.
That's a bit confusing because obviously next to their names you have the red line and the orange line. So that's what I use as reference to if it's a GT3 or hypercar. But
it could be what was the mandatory part for them though, because it does make a little bit of sense. But there's the energy as well. Curry with currently 11%, Gibbo with 30%, Bushel with 18%. As we do see Papaiono going into the pits again.
Unsure what's happened there. That's gonna ruin his race. Perhaps he's got a DT.
Very likely if he's going into the pits again, unless, because I do know there is a small bug that can happen where your pit doesn't actually count in this game, but I didn't think that was too common.
Unsure. I know that I've seen a couple drivers, well, one driver, no names mentioned, tried to go for a pit stop and the game just wouldn't serve his pit stop for him and he had to DNF from the race because of it. So perhaps it is a glitch, but that is a heartbreak for the number 94 Peugeot of Pete. I was really hoping to see two Peugeots on the podium. Obviously, those are the wingless Peugeots. I'm gonna keep saying that, but that is the old LMDH Peugeot. The new one does have the rear wing, so these ones, I think, completely relies on ground effect to work, and I think this is why they didn't really work really well.
It's just interesting that he's gone for the pits twice. Well, he pitted twice because it says he stopped twice, rather than being a drive-through like what Curry had. So I'm wondering if it is something where the pits haven't worked properly. But yeah, at least you got one of your cars in the top, one of those wingless ones. So are you happy with that at least?
I'm still hoping for Bushel to get P1 because that's just bragging rights for them, to be honest.
Gibbo and Curry do have to do a pit stop still because obviously there was the DT and Gibbo's just not done his pit stop yet, so there is still plenty of time for that to happen.
As we see McLaughlin locking up his rear left and driving the Glickenhaus. That's interesting. I'm not sure how good the LMDH are in this. I am not an LMDH driver. I've tried to drive them a couple of times. I am terrible at them. So I'm not sure which one is good or not. But I thought I was told that the Glickenhaus isn't great. Perhaps I am wrong. Perhaps I'm thinking about the other car. I've heard there's another LMDH car which is pretty terrible. But currently in P4, also hasn't done his pit stop, so he will probably have to come in and pit, as we're now on board with the Peugeot of Bushel, looking like he's going to get the P1 for this race as he's going up against more GT3 traffic. So I think we're at the point in this race where the GT3 field is really spread out, so the hypercars don't really get much breathing room for clean air. They always come around the GT3s at one point or another. So again, this just makes it a bit more interesting for us to watch.
Yeah, and it's still plenty of time to get interesting, as we are seeing Mags going to the pit. Currently the BMW, who is moved down the field of the GT3s. Currently still the top four in the GT3s have not pitted. That's Johnston, Lucas Keys, Jamie Conboy and Hislop. Yeah, still an intense battle to go up there. And again, the top two in the hypercars have not pitted yet either. So a long race ahead, still 10 minutes. That's a long time for anything to happen. Plenty of passes to be made, plenty of pit stops to be done. I'm guessing it might not be mandatory, and it's just a matter of whether they can keep the car out there for as long as possible and who fueled for what.
Now, I don't think it is mandatory, but we saw last time we saw Curry's energy, it was at 11% with, I think, 15 minutes to go. There's now 10 minutes to go in this race. That is one fruit bowl. As we see, his energy is all the way at the bottom, so he's most likely going to have to pit now. And if he doesn't, he will be served with a drive-through penalty for not pitting with low energy. So this is going to be interesting. If it does run out this lap, even if it runs out, let's say right now, he is going to get a penalty for it, and he will be kicking himself for that one.
Yeah, because we did say as we were on board with a few of them, the energy was getting low almost 20 minutes ago now. So yeah, definitely a need for a pit for a lot of these drivers. So he's going to need to, as you can see, he's coasting quite a lot, and I'm wondering if that is just for the corners anyway. But he needs to coast a lot more than you think to get that car around with the energy still in there, so he can get away with not having to do a drive-through. Getting a little bit slidey there as well. That's looking a little bit slippery out there. McLaughlin in the pits currently. I'm going to guess everybody's going to have to pick. You're also seeing, you're looking at Gibbo, who's also on 4%. He needs to pit very soon. It's going to be close.
Looks like, is that the Peugeot of Pete going back ahead of him?
Yes, that was, but I believe he was a lap down because of the pit stops.
We have Curry going into the pits now, and followed by Gebo. Gebo not pitting. No.
Do you think he thinks that he has enough? 4%.
He's at 3%. I don't think that's enough to make it. Oh no, we're perhaps going to see Gebo with a drive-through penalty for not pitting. Perhaps he wasn't paying attention to it, but maybe he's going to be able to make it. Maybe he doesn't know that you get a drive-through penalty for it, but I thought someone like Gibbo would know that if you run out of energy, you basically instantly just get a drive-through penalty. And if he does get a drive-through penalty, he'll have to do his pit stop, go back out, and then come back in for his drive-through penalty, because a drive-through penalty doesn't count if you do a pit stop.
There's a chance that maybe you know something we don't. Maybe that energy can last for a whole lap, that's 3%, because Portimao managed to get it around for a long time. And Bushel, I believe, is that the drive-through there? Or because he's back in the pits as well with still 10% energy in the car, which should be enough to last the end of the race.
So, unsure. Maybe he has gotten a drive-through, perhaps for punting a GT3 or being unsafe with on a GT3. At the moment, drive-throughs being the smallest penalty they can give. It's very, very harsh, but it's the best we can do for now. If it is a drive-through, should still be ahead of Curry, as Curry has gone to pit. As we see, Gibbo makes it into the pits, so perhaps it was just enough energy to make it through, but that is cutting it very, very tight.
And I'm wondering if that overcut will pay off, because I believe he would have had to be a little bit off of the accelerator a bit more, but I'm hoping that does pay off for him. Yeah, Bushel now on 17% energy rather than the 10% he was before the pit, so I'm wondering if he realized that the car was using a bit more energy than he thought, and he decided that a pit stop was safer. Maybe they did need the double pit. Here's a... Oh, we're about to get a replay, but it's moved on to this as they are coming out of the pits now, and it looks like Curry's gotten a clear ahead of Gibbo there, so not enough time for Gibbo to make up on that lap, so it's still a decent amount of time behind them. You still got one of your Peugeot? Peugeot?
It's a Peugeot.
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 One of them in the top three. One of the things, the top of the three. And Bushel not too far out, so still on for what you want at least. And yeah, looking very strong up there. Again, the GT3's making it a little bit difficult for the hypercars. Bushel taking the outside line is probably the safest thing to do in that car. around the GT3, and yep, taking full advantage of the situations as he can to get around the field. In the GT3s have also had a bit of a change up again. I believe a few more of them have pitted, with Jamie Conboy now back behind Mags. I guess that would be probably from a pit. Yep, it looks like he has pitted as well. The only one in the only two in the GT3s who haven't pitted are Johnston and Rambler. Everyone else on the field has pitted at least one.
So perhaps they're trying to make the no stop work. If they do, it's going to be a lot of lift and coasting. And also Johnson needs to be aware with Lucas Keys behind him. Lucas is not a slow driver, and he's now going to be pushing really hard to get past him. So perhaps it's the correct call. Johnston will be about, I'm guessing, 30 seconds ahead of Lucas Keys at this point. But he's going to have to do a lot of lift and coasting if he's going to make that no-stop strategy work, as we have Rambler now in the pits. So my guess is Johnston is probably going to pit perhaps the last lap, perhaps this lap. But if everyone else has had to pit, I'm guessing Johnston will have to pit themselves as well.
Yeah, and look, it might be even like a last lap pit just before the last lap, because I don't think that you can make it a full race like in the Aston around this course, but it seems like he's done it. There's only 4 minutes left, so unless he does do like a second last lap pit or whatever, I think he will need a pit, which would, if I'm getting my timings right, put Lucas into first.
He's not that far ahead of Lucas, actually. Lucas, as Johnston was towards the end of the start-finish straight, Lucas was entering it, so he's going to have to do something about this, because Lucas is right there as we see him in the back of the screen. Looked like a hypercar was going straight past him, and we do have a yellow flag, so let's just hope that's not Lucas getting impeded by one of the hypercars. But as we still see him, yeah, he's getting really close. Johnson will have to do something about this. What I'm thinking, yeah, just like you said, a last lap pit, but that is going to be very opportunistic, because he is going to have to lift and coast a lot, and Lucas is not a slow driver.
Yeah, Lucas is definitely one of our quicker ones in OOR. Again, it's still a different game, so it's a bit of a different change-up for all of them. We are on a replay. I'm guessing this is an overtake or something. Maybe even a bit of a lock up there.
Oh, McLaughlin.
He's held it. He's held it. That was a nice drift. Able to hold it.
It is a good-looking car, that Glickenhaus. I will give it that.
It's very old-school vibes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Very old-school vibes. Reminds me of those 70s cars racing, like the GT40 and all these other cars.
Ty's not looking too... Yeah, I was going to say, Ty's not looking... I want to save that again. Ty's not looking too good on that car. Spinning a lot, losing a lot of traction. Oh, is this reach?
Oh no, he's going to get hit. He's going to get hit with a... Well, I'm guessing another drive-through penalty for that one. That was a very unsafe rejoin. Perhaps that's the adrenaline kicking in. Obviously, once you start locking up the tires, they start overheating. And once they start overheating, you lose all your grip and you do more mistakes. So that's what looks like happened. That is unfortunate. And unfortunate for that Ferrari as well. That looks like Ferrari of Hislop getting caught up in this.
It has been an interesting night. Obviously, the car's hitting the end of their tire life on a lot of them. But yeah, it's not going well for these drivers out here. For example, that I don't even know what that car is called anymore. Getting into a little bit of an incident with Ferrari then, and obviously the lowest penalty they can really give is a drive-through, apart from a redress, but not too good for him. And we are looking again on board with one of the hypercars who are approaching a pack of them. This might be, if I'm looking at it right, might be... Who is this? This is not... Bushel.
That's Mark Bushel, yep.
So Bushel is behind Papaano, which comes from the second pit stop. I'm wondering, maybe that car did need 2 pit stops with the strategy they were going for to keep it at its best.
I'm unsure, but yeah, I am noticing this that both Peugeots have had 2 pit stops. Now, I highly doubt they would have had to pit twice unless, like you said, there is something about this particular car which makes it so he has to pit twice. Perhaps they can't refill energy and fuel at the same time, but I wouldn't understand why that would be a thing. As we're perhaps the last lap of the race. Currently, we have Curry in P1, so he has managed to get back into P1. So good recovery drive, especially with that penalty. Unlucky for both Peugeots. Still one of them on the podium. Fantastic effort. The 2 pit stops really did not help them out, as we have Curry currently crossing the start finish. And I'm not sure on LMU if they have to do another one after the timer hits 0. Because it did not look like he was stopping. That is the end of the race, so there will be Curry in P1, and looks like Gibbo will pick up P2 in the caddy.
This is weight cutting close.
He's at 0.8% energy. That is not looking good for Cam, as all Peter has to do is just hold off Bushel, and he will get P3. He'll be really, really happy with that result if he manages to keep it, especially in that car, as they're coming down the final corner, going down the straight, and it looks like Peter will get the last step on the podium. We've got Mark really close, but that will be Peter taking P3, and Mark really close in P4, and looks like Bushel just Tisselwaite just manages to keep the energy, as the energy hits 0% after he crosses the start finish line. Now that is cutting it really close, as Johnston still hasn't pitted. At least I don't think they have, so looks like they have managed to do the no-stop strategy work, and gets P1, gets highly rewarded. There's a bit of a jump there from the Aston Martin GT3 Evo. That is a beautiful car, and Lucas Keys will have to settle for P2. So yes, so Johnston, the no-stop strategy working out for them. That is highly, highly surprising, but highly deserved result.
Very
that was
race across the board for most of it. Again, yeah, clean result there from Johnston, taking out the win above Lucas Keys by a few seconds there. I guess that non-pit stop did help a lot. Probably did a lot of saving, which is why Lucas Keys was so close in the end there. But not enough, and they're all in their boxes now. But again, what a great race there. Would you say you have a driver of the day? If you want, actually, let's do the call first. Do you want to call who our top 3 are for the hypercars and top 3 for the GT3?
So top 3 in hypercars would be in first place would be Henny Curry in P1. Fantastic race from them, followed by Callum Gibbons, and in P2, and on the last step of the podium will be Peter Papiano. In P1 for GT3 it would be Ash Johnston with the Giga no-stop strat, followed by Lucas Keys in P2 and Graham Hill in P3. Personally, driver of the day for me would probably be Ashley Johnston, making that no-stop strategy work. I was very doubtful of it, seeing everyone else having to stop, but the fact that they made it work gives it a highly, highly, what's the word, deserved finish in P1. What about you, Loopty?
I would have to agree, keeping it on for the whole time. Good long race there. With no pit stop seems to have been the play there, and it was a great race for that GT3. I'd also say Curry, who just had a really good race, came back from a drive through and still having to do a pit stop and everything, and was able to come back quite well to finish in first. So that would be my 2 drivers of the day for the 2 different classes. But I will send us off for the end of the LMU race. This was round 1 of our Simrigs Le Mans Ultimate Series. I was joined again by Gobby in the comms box and Ben Higner on the cameras. We'll be heading over to Split Red in ACC very, very soon, so do stick around. I hope everybody has a great night, and anything you want to say, Gobby, before we do go?
Nothing much. It was a fantastic race. I'm gonna get into the Split Red server because I've got 10 minutes until quali starts. So I'll leave you guys here.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third and final ACC split of round one of the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series here from Spa, round one of 10. My name is Lexi Bowen, and joining me on commentary for Split Red tonight is the wonderful Sam O'Brien. How are you, Sam?
I'm well, Lexi. I'm well. How about yourself?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. It's been a little while since I've been in the commentary booth, but very excited for this nice, long 10-round season. And hasn't it been great to see the Le Mans Ultimate content as well start to get a bit more prominent and definitely diversifying. It's good to see. I mean, ACC is still very much the main focus, and still love this game a lot. But it's great to see there's more going about. But right now, our focus is on Spa, which is, I believe, the longest track on the GT World Challenge calendar.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. So at just over 7,000 kilometers, Lexi, it represents the longest track on the GT World Challenge GT3 calendar. And a fun fact, the absolute iconic run up from El Rouge up to Raidillon is actually a 40-meter elevation gain.
Yeah, it's pretty significant.
And so we'll see tonight how everyone goes tackling that challenge. As you know from being in the driver's seat yourself, Lexi, the aim is to be absolutely flat from turn one, which is the hairpin, all the way up and all the way down the Camel Straight. You aim to be absolutely flat. Now, we saw last season at the sprint race that we had in Spa, there are a few cars that didn't quite have the aero to make it up El Rouge and over Raidillon at flat without having some issues. So we'll keep our fingers and toes crossed we don't see that again. And I'll tell you what, it is great to see a nice strong field to start the season out. 32 cars on track, a great host of manufacturers, and a really good mix of classes top to bottom. So this is going to be, I think we're in for a fantastic race, Lexi.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And yeah, it is great to see so many drivers out there. As you said, 32 out of the 36 that we have rostered on for Split Red. We've got an Aston Martin, we've got a couple Audis, a Bentley, a few BMWs, Ferraris, Fords, McLarens, Mercedes, Nissans, and then your prerequisite bunch of Porsches. And right now we are on board with one of the 4 Audis. It is Breno Ellis, who is very, very fast, gets nice and tight to the apex at La Source. Really want to get as close to the wall on the inside without bottoming the car out too much, as if you bottom out the car, you're going to lose a lot of time on the exit. Now, coming down to Rouge and up Raidillon, keeps it nice and flat. That does have to come off it a little bit, I think, just getting a little bit understeer going up Raidillon, but the tyres will still be a little bit cold, not quite their optimum, so will take a little bit of time before they can really start to push. Now, coming up to Les Combes after the long Camel Straight. Oh, it gets very wide, and I think that's going to be this lap just about gone. We'll still want to try and put it on the board, but not going to be able to do much with it after that mistake.
I think Breno just looking for a solid banker lap here. He'll still be bringing brakes and tyres up to running temperatures. So I think the aim here will be get a solid banker in, get everything up to where it's nice and cooking in prep for the next lap. And from sort of peeping and doing a bit of sneaking and looking at some of the practice servers over the last week, I think target time for these guys at the top is going to be a very high 2:15. I'm going to be surprised if we see one in quali. There was a few guys that were able to put one together in the practice server, but obviously the pressure's a whole lot different, Lexi, when you're just hot lapping in the practice server than when you've got 15 minutes on the board to get it done. And we've got a replay coming in. Oh no, I don't want to see it.
Yep.
Oh no.
Oh, nearly saved it as well, did the 164 Ferrari there of, I think that's Raschuti in the Sofa King slow car. Got to remember to just slow down the syllables a little bit. But yeah, nearly saved that, did Raschuti. That was so close to being a well-held save, but unfortunately for Raschuti, I think that will be back to the pits and repairing that car, ready to go out again. Still got 10 minutes left, but it is a long lap time. As you said, like, it'll be 2:16s you would expect for, like, low 2:16s for pole, but yeah, high 215s are possible, which is just insane to think about, given what the pace was like only a few years ago. As yeah, there you go, Ellis's initial lap time. So far, it's 7/10 off of what Shady Samuel has put on as a banker, which is a 2:17.1. So we look at Tim Gobe coming into the final corner. Of course, was on the commentary just before for LMU was Gobby. It was a very good effort from him indeed. Comes up to the line. We'll see what the lap time is. It's 1.3 seconds off, and it's a 2:18.4 for the silver class driver.
Not a bad banker in there from Gobby, especially considering that he's not had any prep or warm up. He's jumped straight from commentary box and into the car. Interesting to see that the Ferraris are going to struggle through sector 1 again this season. We haven't got many in the field, which is quite surprising for Split Red. I think we had 5 or 6 last season. But, I mean, looking at the 26 spots we see on the timing tree at the moment, there's none. We know for sure there's one in there because we saw it had an oopsie. But I think it may be the only Sol Ferrari that we've got in this split.
At there were 2 on the entry list, but only 1 is in attendance tonight, and that is the driver we have on board now, Stefano Rasciuti in the 164.
And here we go again. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. Can we make it up and over this hill? He's invalidated there.
That Porsche had a big snap though by the looks of it in the background. Had to really save it going up the top, and I think has pulled over to the side of the track. So we will watch now what Shady Samuel is doing. You will see the drivers going very, very wide out on that red and yellow curb. You can actually do that. The game allows you to do it, but you have to be really, really careful. So it can make hot lapping around here both really, really fun, but also really, really frustrating because you're pushing to the absolute limit. I mean, you're kind of doing that at most tracks anyways, but the limits just expand as you're going a lot faster, and it's a lot harder to get it absolutely bang on. As we watch Bruno Ellis come to the line, initially 2:17.7, improves to a 2:17.2. We'll expect a bit more from Bruno as the session progresses, as Salvagio goes up to P2, only 500ths off of what Shady Samuel's been able to do.
Salvagio is going to be one to watch this season. The pace has always been there. It's consistency that's sort of tripped Salvagio up after the last couple of seasons. And there we go with Chuk Long Lee with a 2:16.7, which will put him right to the top of the timing. And Timmy Gove about to go across the line. And that must have been just an outlet. Excuse me there, as nothing kicked over from Gobby. Still a fastest lap of a 17.8.
I think there was an improvement, but it just wasn't enough to improve positions, because you look at the gap between Gobby and Viney, and it's 7/10. So
fair enough.
Nice big gap as we watch now. Jensen, he's just come through turn one's gained 0.2 per second, so that's nicely done through La Source. Now, coming up to the dangerous overreaching radio, and you're really having to push the limits of the car going through here. That looked good. Maybe a little too much curve on the inside, but managed to get the momentum. Too much curve on the inside, and you can lose it very easily, especially when you're in the race itself and the tires are starting to find some wear. As we look now at Chukwon Liu, goes a bit wide going through Speaker's Corner, and that's going to be all the delta disappearing right there for the Mercedes driver.
Is Chuk Long Lee a newcomer to OOR, Lexi, or an old hat that's sort of come back into the fray? They're not someone that I've come across before.
I haven't encountered Chuk Long Lee before either. I'm not sure whether they were in last season, but the Chinese driver there in P1 is certainly doing great things right now and is in the pro class, so clearly has the pace, and you would think some solid consistency in there to show for it.
Yeah, they're quick. They're definitely quick. Let's see what they can do in the first race of the season. As Shady Samuel's currently 0.3 up, which will put him right in touch with Chuk Long Lee there.
Yes.
Almost going to 0.4 up. People watching, disregard the red numbers over there. Obviously, he's done an outlap and then gone across the line. So hopefully that will go away. It looks like Shady's going to put this one in the bag. Still got quite a lot of lap to go as we watch Rob Maddox cross the line for 17.5. 17.5,
Yes,
which holds him
17.5.
there in P6. This is going to be a stonking lap from Shady Samuel, ladies and gentlemen. Almost half a second up on his previous time, which by my maths will put him 2/10 clear of Chuk Long Lee as he comes in into the final chicane. Hold it together, keep it tight. Car over to the right-hand side, left-hand side curb, fully on the power.
Look
Use
at that
all the
delta.
track on exit. Wow. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Shady Samuel with a 16.4. We're getting right to the pointy end of this qualifying session now too, Lexi.
Yeah, that was a brilliant lap time from Shady Samuel. Got really into the bus stop chicane there with some aggression on the curb. Gained a lot of time going into it. Lost a bit going out, but it was enough overall to find him a net gain. And yeah, he's 3.5 tenths up of Chuk Long Lee, who looks to be on a bit of an outlap at the moment. We'll look to set a proper lap shortly. We've still got 4 minutes to go, so there's still enough time for 2 laps there for Chuk Long Lee, as we watch now with Breno Ellis, who is just on a lap now going through Sector 1. Again, disregard what the red time in the top left-hand corner is saying. He's found 2/10. That's a lot of time found through Lacombe Malmedy. There was a really good section there for him. As he now comes down Bruxelles, he's held it nice and tight to the apex there. It looked pretty solid in the Logitech Audi. Through speakers, runs out very wide. It wouldn't surprise me if that is invalid, but it was right on the limit, so we'll have to see what happens. He now comes into Puon. Great aggression, great speed as well. Look at how much time he's finding. He's 6.5 tenths up. I think he's still going for this. So I think he just kept it within the bounds of the track. Now, through the Fania chicane and into towards campus, he's still about 6.5 tenths up, and he's still finding more time. He's going to get pretty close, but he's run a little wide going through campus, and that's going to ruin the momentum going all the way through Stavelot and down towards Blanchemont. He's lost, yeah, about a tenth of a second. That delta's going to keep coming down, so he needs a pretty good bus stop chicane to be able to catch up to the time that Shady Samuel's put, but right now this would be enough to put him into provisional P2.
I was going to say this lap's still looking good enough to put him on the front row, but I think we're in for a pretty tight shootout here for the first 2 rows of the podium. He's going to have to be careful that Shady doesn't have to hold him up there. Obviously, Shady would not be doing that intentionally whatsoever. And it's a 16.58 from Breno, so great lap. He's got a 10.5 to Shady Samuel. As Chuk Long Lee coming up towards the final chicane. Let's see what he can put together.
Coming up through Puon now is Chuk Long Lee. Loses a bit of time. Now coming up towards the Fania chicane. Does have a little bit of traffic ahead with the Porsche, but the Porsche is on a lap, so cannot overtake. Has to manage the gap nicely. Oh, goes a little bit wide, so a little bit of time lost, but still not too bad. Is matching what he did previously. Few little mistakes that he can iron out, and he'd be right there with what Shady Samuel's done, but it's easier said than done at a track that is as long and as fierce as Spa-Francorchamps. So we'll get a decent slipstream behind the Porsche now, coming up through Blanchemont and into the bus stop chicane. Nice and committed, as you would expect. Doesn't run too wide. Now, what's the braking performance going to be like? No, he's backed out of it. He wants to go for one more lap and really push for it, but someone who's really pushing for it is Shady Samuel. He's half a second up. We might see a 15 here.
He's looking like it. He's going to give it everything he can to put that 15 on the table for us. Climbing up to 6 tenths up. We do remember that he left a little bit of time on the table in Sector 3, so we'll see if he can find those little time tokens as he's going through. Let's hope that a little bit of lap traffic here doesn't hold him up. And we'll keep an eye and see how far he can push pole here. Is Breno Ellis also on a lap? I'd be really interested to see where his delta's sitting to look at this shootout for pole.
Yeah, because they're right there with each other, but We'll focus now still on Shady Samuel as he comes up to the final chicane. How aggressive is he going to be on the curb? Not as aggressive on his previous lap. He does find a little bit more going into it, and he finds a lot on the exit. Ladies and gentlemen, Shady Samuel with a 15.9, if you don't mind. That is brilliant. Brilliant from Shady Samuel in the Mustang. That is, you'd almost say, unbeatable.
I mean, look, let's see what the likes of Bruno Ellis and Chuk Long Lee can pull out of the bag. But with almost 7/10 on the field, you think that that front step, that top step on the podium is well and truly Shady's. As we go further down the field, we can see that the silver class qualifying is heating up as well. Rob Maddox currently in the pits. He's got 3/10 back to Salvaggio, who's only then got 400s back to Mr. Aiden Squires, who's in the Mustang this season. Pete Johnson, who's currently sitting in fourth overall and fourth in the pro class, is 8/10 behind Shady Samuel and half a second and growing up on this lap. This could be enough to put him. Oh, he's lost a bit on exit there, unfortunately. Otherwise, that may still good enough to put him on the front row.
And nicely done from Johnson. Just a little bit wide coming out of the bus stop chicane, but still pretty good. And Shady Samuel's still going on with it. I did say it was unbeatable, but he's going to try and beat the unbeatable. And if anyone can do it, it's the driver who set that unbelievable lap time. As here is Chuk Long Lee. He's going to try and get a little bit closer to Ellis, but it's not going to be. He's going to be P4 at best, but that's still very solid from Chuk Long Lee. Now, Shady Samuel, he's about a 10th down. He's got to find a massive third sector, and I don't think he's going to get it. He's lost a little bit just the slide. I think those sides we've seen the best that they've been able to offer, so it's going to be a 2:15.9 that will be pole position for Shady Samuel, and that is unbelievable. We weren't sure whether we were going to see it. The pressure is high, and yeah, look, I'm not sure where that is correct, where Ellis has actually invalidated, but he's still going on with it, so we will see. But I would dare say it's going to be P3 for Breno Ellis. Comes up to the line, and yeah, there you go. So it was invalidated. He just wanted to see the lap time. Aiden Squires, he's going to take the top spot in. Wow, well done from Aiden Squires. P4 overall and P1 in the silver class in what I would say is normally a rather cursed Red Bull Ampol Mustang, but that's going to be a normal next season in Supercars. As we watch Gobby come up to the line now, he's about 3.5 up. That will give him quite a few positions, and he moves up in the P8. Well done, Gobby, with very little preparation going into this, going straight from commentary into this race, and he's a qualified P8 in the Porsche and the lead driver in the Porsches as well.
Yeah, he's put together a really solid qualifying session there. Cold, straight out of the commentary box, straight onto the grid. And, you know, P3 in class, and from memory, P8 overall. We'll do a bit of a grid walk now, Lexi. This is one of my favorite parts of a sprint race, especially at the start of the season. Obviously, the Kovacs Racing AlphaTauri Ford on the left-hand side we've seen before. This fruit bowl livery on the right-hand side for Pete Johnson, as far as I'm aware, is quite new. I haven't seen that. But that's stunning. Like how cool is that?
Yeah, fruit bowls, very familiar to many ACC racers who jump in the lobbies there. The Logitech livery on the left of Ellis and the Red Bull livery on the right of Aiden Squires in the 96 Mustang. That is beautiful. Absolutely stunning, that is.
He's done definitely done well there. The graphics at Red Bull look like, I guess, some of the graphics used in the Thai market instead of in the Aussie market, so it gives it a bit of a flair there. Another 70 AMG on the left-hand side, with just a nice clean livery and the Waffle House livery. This thing looks awesome.
Yeah,
Why do I feel like that should come in a Hot Wheels box, Lexi?
Oh, absolutely. To be fair, you could say that about a lot of the cars here. See another McLaren there, the number 11 there, then the Porsche on the right-hand side. That's another fruit bowl livery of Gobby there in the 72. There's another Porsche there, the Kovacs entry. I believe that is Chalmers, if I'm not mistaken. Then we've got Rashuti there, rounding out your top 10 in the Sofa King slow car. And we've got what looks to be a little bit of a retro-inspired Mercedes there on the left, based on the color set. That's pretty nice to look at, I would say.
That's a
The
cool looking livery. The number
223
223.
Pyramids Kovacs car. Okay, I like
I
that. I like
believe,
that.
is that a Samuel car?
It might
Is
be it would be a
yeah,
Samuel
yeah.
car. Yes, there you go. Then
Uh,
going through, got quite a few Kovacs entries in this one.
surprise, surprise. I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Zach Jensen on the right hand side there in the green and black Audi. You know, I've just watched this bloke go from strength to strength over the last 12 months. You know, he races in our team, and it's great to see him up in the silver class. Brave for him to have taken the Audi this season. My hat's off to him. But looking
Yes,
forward to seeing a strong race and a strong season from Zach.
indeed.
We have got 4 seconds until race start here, so one day we will get
Oh.
through all the liveries.
Oh, there's a few drivers that forgot to hit drive.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
dear. Got Anderson there in the 98. Oh dear. And I think there was maybe one or two more. It looks like Anderson's the only one who is in the pits right now. So that's really unfortunate there for the 98 Porsche.
Could just be on purpose. Could be a bit of a strategy play.
That's true. Going into Eau Rouge and Ready on lap 1 with this many cars, you never know what's going to happen.
I mean, I'm going to keep my fingers and toes crossed, Lexi, but that could be a bowling alley going up there.
Oh, yes.
You know, cold tires, full of fuel. We haven't got, you know, we've only got the one Ferrari on the grid. We have got, 2 Audis that we know are going to struggle. Are going to struggle through that section as they lose aero in that transition. So who knows? Maybe it's a big brain play from Anderson. Stay out of the carnage, sail past and pick up sort of 5 or 6 places on the way through. I know split yellow last night was absolute carnage. I don't know
Yes.
whether you caught that, but there was an unfortunate McLaren that ended up using Ferrari as a ramp and got sent to the moon.
Wow.
So maybe Anderson knows something we don't.
Perhaps. I mean, I'm sure if it does end up that way, he'll just say that he meant it. But we won't know for sure until we get official word from the 98 Porsche driver there. But halfway through the formation lap, Sam, did you have any predictions for this one in terms of a race winner?
Oh, it's so hard to call a race winner before we've even gone green. I'm going to give it to Ellis. You know, the betting man in me says just put your money on Shady, but that's boring. So I've got $10 here, Lexi, that says Bruno's going to take it out. How about yourself?
Well, it is very hard to say, and some of these drivers I'm not as familiar with. And also, brand new season, you never know what you're going to get with the Simrigs Sprint Series. But Johnston did surprise me getting up into P2 in the Bentley. The Bentley, I think, can do some reasonable stuff, and I think particularly more recent history, the Bentley started to improve a little bit more. So hard to look past him, but yeah, as you said, Shady Samuel, the pace he showed in qualifying, could very well run away with this one. But pace in qualifying is one thing, it's about the consistency in the race that matters. And with 60 minutes, no mandatory stops, you have to be really on it in such a competitive field like this one.
So what I'm hearing is that you're going to go the safe money and put your $10 on Shady Samuel.
No, I never said that. I'm putting it on Johnston, thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Well, you may as well take us away here, Lexi.
Yeah, no worries. Hearing word that Anderson was in the steward's box last night for Yellow, so he might be a bit scarred from that incident. So perhaps there is a little bit more merit in your call of it being on purpose than we thought. But we'll round La Source. We've got Samuel, Johnston, Ellis, Squires, Longley, Maddox, Salvaggio, Gerb, Chalmers, and Rashuti, your top 10. As we run down towards the start-finish line, we've got the 98 of Anderson stuck in pits. We'll see if that pays off We've got 1 hour, no mandatory stops. It's all down to what the drivers can do here at Spa-Francorchamps. We're underway, and it's a brilliant start from Johnston, who's got the inside going into Eau Rouge, but up Radion, it's going to be tight. He gets through just, and it seems like there's a few cars going wide to avoid any calamity, and they've managed to get through there all successfully. Johnson's kind of been caught in a little bit of no man's land here, and now is under a lot of pressure from Breno Ellis, who might even be looking at the inside of Shady Samuel there. Johnson's going to try and hold around the outsides. They run through Lecom. Further back, there's still a few drivers battling out, but so far, no major calamities, no major collisions, which is very, very good to see. Very well behaved, and it looks like Johnston has been able to hold on against Ellis there, and Squires too, holding off Longley, with Salvaggio now getting involved on the Mercedes, having to do a little bit of a switchback, but you're not going to get a whole lot going through Speaker's Corner, so has to hold stations for now going into Pool 1. But oh dear, there's a little bit of an interesting line from the Porsche back there. I think that is Gobby there in the 72 has got an interesting line there with the green AstroTurf, and now Aiden Squires under a lot of pressure, and Longley's had a little bit of a look, now under pressure from Salvaggio. Salvaggio goes up the inside, but you're not really going to get many moves done at the Fania chicane, so has to once again fall back in line. But a lot of great action on this opening lap between a few drivers there, but Samuel is away out front, 1 second clear of Johnston.
Great to see Split Red keeping it nice and tidy and keeping their, they've got their manners out for the first lap. It's going to be interesting to watch these battles pace out. Obviously, Shady has run away with it, but Breno Ellis is right on the back of Johnson there. And then we've got the Squires, Long, and I've just forgot the third name who was in that battle, Salvaggio.
Ooh,
nice and tight.
A bit of a dive to the inside from Salvaggio by the looks of it, but Longley was able to get it, as I think Salvaggio overshot it. And now it's going to leave him under a bit of pressure from behind with, looks to be Maddox there. Is he going to try and have a look around the outside? I don't think he's quite close enough, but Salvaggio looks really strong at the moment in comparison to Longley's. There's a yellow flag further back, 62, and the 87 around in separate incidents, if you don't mind.
Very odd. This is a great battle pack here with Longley, Salvaggio, Maddox, and Gobby up the back. Let's see, the Merc should have the legs down the Kemmel Straight, and he's got these three mid and rear engine cars tucked right in behind him in his slipstream. Maddox is looking very hungry this race. He's looking like he wants to clear Salvaggio and get on up and start chasing Squires, Ellis, Johnson, and Samuel.
Oh dear, there's been major contact at the exit of Radion, the 909. There's a driver that's returned to pit lane. I think that is the 18. So there's been a massive contact on the exit of Radion. I think someone has binned it and unfortunately collected another driver there, so that's really unfortunate. But we continue on with this battle. You were saying Maddox was looking hungry. For a minute it looks like Gobby was going to get past him, but the straight line speed of the McLaren compared to the Porsche, even if there isn't a huge lot of difference, has managed to come out on top. Gobby's got a very interesting line there, taking the AstroTurf. I'm wondering if he's actually finding anything there or not. As we watch a replay now, it's got a Mercedes and Nissan. Mercedes loses it. Oh dear. Yep, that is big damage for the Mercedes, and I think the Nissan did manage to continue on, but yeah, had to pull off the road and return to pits.
Yeah, really interesting incident there. Obviously, the Mercedes has sort of lost the back end and decided to try and bail out left. Hasn't had control of the car, hit the barrier, and as we often see, if cars hit that barrier on the left-hand side, they will pinball across the track onto the right-hand side. Obviously, the driver in the other car didn't. He was a passenger at this point and had nowhere he could go. As we're back live looking here with Longley, he has managed to drop Salvaggio a little bit, but Salvaggio still has Maddox right on his gearbox. As we have another replay here.
This would have been a little instant further back. Yeah, that's a big send from the Porsche there. That is not ideal, and there's another car that's been turned around there at the same corner. And hello?
Wow, clean up on aisle 3, please, Split Red. Clean up on aisle 3.
Yeah, few drivers just missing their braking point a little bit there. Some a bit more excessively than others, I would say. But first race back, I think we can as much as it will get obviously penalised, I think we can have a little bit of understanding. It's been their first race back. It's just need to get themselves settled back in, but yeah, not ideal to say the least.
I feel for the poor stewards. The stewards haven't really.
Rashudi, there's contact there. Chalmers and Rashudi sending it up the inside. Chalmers cutting over the track. I think that will just be play on because Rashudi looks to be the one that instigated that contact, but he'll be blowing up over the radio, you would expect. That's brought the battle that was involving Curtis, Samuel, and Jensen. As we watch now, this is Rashudi up the inside. That is a bit of a late move, and yeah, it didn't look like he was going to be making that corner cleanly.
No, looked like to use a cliche phrase, looked like he was a day late and $1 short on that one.
Thank you, Martin.
I've been waiting to roll that one out. But look, yeah, that was it was a bit of a 50-50 move, that one. But hey, look, both cars live to fight another day, so play on. The stewards are going to have their hands full trying to unravel the last two previous messes anyway. So I think we'll probably see this battle play out for a little while before the stewards get involved.
Yeah, I can already hear the beer cans opening up as we speak from the stewards box. But we will see what happens. There's still 53 minutes left, so they've got plenty of time to deliberate over the little incidents that have played out so far. As we watch from behind Aiden Squires, Longley has started to really close in there on the 96 Mustang, and yeah, we'll have to see what happens here. Seems Longley has now got settled into a rhythm as the with the 62. It's a yellow flag. There'll be a car that's further down, so I'm guessing it's just been coming out of the pits or something like that.
Well, that's not a good spot. I hope that's
I think that's in pit lane, so I think we can safely ignore it.
All right, I'll tell my heart to just slow down a little bit. I was looking at his position on the track map, and I thought, oh, we're in for a wild one here. So I mean, this battle between Lee and Squires is obviously going to play out a little bit. And just looking down the timing tree, you know, from Chalmers back, how many cars have we got in that train?
A lot. Down to about Charitos in P15, the lead of the M-Class drivers. As Rashudi now tries the outside line, but finds the marbles and not going to get done there. No contact on this occasion as further back. That is, looks to be Curtis getting a lot of pressure from Samuel, and that pressure that Samuel put on has allowed Jensen to get up the inside, and there's contact there, and Jensen, does he save it? Yes, he does, but that looked a bit 50-50 there, but either way, Jensen's the one that's lost down. He's going to lose out to both Rochford and Charitos, who got the inside into Speaker's Corner.
Everyone getting a little bit excited here now that we've sort of had 10 minutes play out. We've managed to survive the first couple of laps, and now we're sitting there going, right, what positions can we make up? Where can I make this overtake? Yeah, and I think, you know, some of these drivers just need to use a little bit more patience. Set that move up properly instead of going for it 50-50. And let's see what Longley can do right on the back of Squires here. Only 2.5 tenths the difference between the two cars. And we are slowly coming up to the bus stop Shane, which is a heavy braking area. And obviously a favoured overtaking spot of these drivers tonight. So let's stay with this battle here and see if Longley can make something of it.
Going to be difficult
coming into the chicane.
The straight line speed of the Mustang is excellent, but it does look like overall Longley's a little bit tighter on the lines. That Shady Samuel sets at 2:17.2. It's fast lap the races now. Up the inside we go with Longley into La Source. Has a good overlap. Should get the better braking performance and goes through. Squires doesn't fight it too hard. Tried the over and under, but Longley was aware of it, and that is a well-executed move and exactly what we were mentioning before. Just that patience. Didn't send it on a 50-50 move at the bus stop. It just bided his time, and he was through. Here we go. Oh, it's hard to really call from that one, so I'll leave that to steward's discretion. I think you can't really say much about that one.
No, tough. We haven't got access to all the camera angles here that the stewards have got, but I think it was just a simple case of 2 into 1 doesn't go. Both of those guys wanted to be on the same bit of track and just Obviously, cars can't sit on top of each other, so we end up with 2 cars.
Oh,
colliding.
it depends how broken your game is, I suppose.
This is true. This is true. And so we jump back into the Salvaggio, Maddox, and Gobby battle. And obviously, Gobby was in Pro-Am for the majority of last season. What a deserving promotion up into silver. I think this is where Gobby really, especially with where his pace is now, he's now at home in the silver class. And it's great to see this 3-way battle here for 6th overall.
Well, yeah, he seems to be studying the right course with the science of Lucas Keys as we watch a replay at the start. Looked to be a bit of a jump there that Breno Wells got, but there was just no room. Would be curious to see whether there's actually a jump start in there, but either way, it was a great reaction, and he was nearly able to capitalize on it, getting up the inside of Johnston, just following through with what Shady Samuel was doing, but unfortunately, he just couldn't execute moves. So it was a really good start. Be curious to see what happens with it, because it looks like he got a fair old jump on the drivers around him, but you would hope that it's within the bounds of the rules.
I think we'd know about it by now from the because that'd be an in-game penalty applied if he jumped the start there. So I'm sure that we'd know if that had happened there. But well driven and well defended there from Shady. He obviously knew that he didn't quite get the start that Ellis did, but he used Johnson and that big Bentley to keep Breno behind him until he was able to stretch the legs of the Mustang down the Camel Straight. So, that's 100 IQ driving there. He's really thought about that and used the positioning of the other car to box Breno in and give him nowhere to go.
Yeah, it was really well executed. As we look now at Ben Curtis, who's done well so far to hold on to P11, but he's been under a hell of a lot of pressure, including from the other Samuel in this race in the Mercedes. He's going to be coming up Rouge and Radio, and I'm not sure whether he kept within the bounds of the track limits, and I think he's had to back off a little bit. Yeah, he's got a drive through for track limits.
Wow, that's early for Ramez. 13 minutes into the race, and he's got a drive through already. That is going to hurt his progress up the field.
And I think because he picked up the drive through there, I don't think that move's actually legal, because I think there's rules around not making moves after getting a track cut or track limits warning through that section.
Yeah, look, I'm going to leave that one in the hands of the stewards. If I was Benny Curtis, I wouldn't be too worried about it, because
he's already got the drive-through, so it's not like he's lost out on a position because of it, and there's no mandatory pit stops either. So
no, exactly. So at some point, the next 3 laps, Ramez is going to have to dive into the pits in front of him, and Benny Curtis can just use him for a bit of a slipstream, and hopefully keep Rochford in that Porsche behind.
Well, I think he'll have a bit of an easier time fighting against Rochford, just simply because the Mustang is such superior straight line speed compared to the Porsche. But you did see how much time that Samuel gained through Origin Radio, and even if it wasn't exactly legal, as meanwhile Rashuti has managed to get through on Chalmers at long last. So we'll have to take a look at a replay of that. But it's been a move that's been coming from Rashuti. As we get a replay now, it's going to be going into his favourite overtaking spot by the looks, but into Lake Com. He's a little bit more, cautious in a way, and so too is the Porsche there of Chalmers, who is still leading the way in the Pro-Am class.
So Pete's given him enough space to drive a beat double through there. Obviously, after the last 2 times where he's gone first up the inside and then around the outside, and a little tap and kiss each time, Pete's gone, you know what, mate, if you want it that bad, you just have it. I'm staying right out of your way. As Benny Curtis has got Scotty Rochford right on the gearbox of that Mustang.
Indeed.
Interesting. Let's watch this battle up through El Rouge Radion and then onto the Camel Straight. You think the Mustang has got the legs to just walk away here. Scotty Rochford has kept it nice and clean and tidy in the Porsche. And as we saw on the last lap, unless Benny gets a clean run up there, he's got a lift to keep that car stable, which is then hurting him at the end of that straight. Not enough this time for Scott to be able to sort of effect a move there.
Yep, the Mustang suffers from what I call Americanism. It's great in a straight line, not very good in the corners. Just a bit heavy going through some of these corners, especially the high-speed stuff. The low-speed, it's not awful in, but high-speed stuff, it just really struggles with how much weight is on board, and the fact it's just so quick in a straight line that it's carrying a lot more speed. How we're having to start those high-speed corners with a lot more speed than some of its competitors.
Look, when you've got a warp drive button in the cabin, cornering ability is just not needed. This is a great battle watching Scott harass Benny Curtis here.
It's a tale of two cars, really. You have the Mustang that's great in a straight line, not great in the corners, compared to a Porsche that's not great in a straight line, but brilliant through the corners.
Lexi, you and I are on the same wavelength there. I was about to say it's a bit of a David and Goliath here. The Porsche being David and the Mustang being Goliath. But funnily enough, in the Spa 24-hour GT3 history, Porsche is the most successful manufacturer. They've won the 24-hour here more times than any other manufacturer that competes in GT3. So let's see if Scotty Rochford can do that Porsche badge proud and get it one step further up the timing tree in front of that Mustang.
Yes, indeed. Well, right now we've got a Mustang leading the way in this race as courtesy of Shady Samuel. But the Bentley of Johnson is getting closer as we look now at a replay of the start. Oh, my lord.
Wow.
That is an absolute send and a half into the side of poor Mike Crick.
Cricky seems to have magnets in that GTR.
He always seems to get caught up in some kind of incident, which is really unfortunate. But he'll have a look on board now, and he's just going through Origin Radio on normal business, and suddenly, bang! That's huge contact.
More often than not, it's not his fault either. Can we see that from the angle of the offending car?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that was like net code or just a bit of a mistake or what it was, but it looked really odd. But meanwhile, Johnston isn't letting Shady Samuel get away with this. That gap is 1.3 seconds, and despite Samuel having the fastest lap of the race, past few laps, Johnston's been a little bit quicker. So it's a great start here from this driver. Oh, just seemed to get the line massively wrong going into Origin Radio.
Yeah, straight. That was a weird incident. Really weird incident, that one.
Is seemed to turn in quite late into the corner, then having to turn again into Radion. Just not quite getting the lines right. Perhaps getting a little bit spooked by how good of a start they got, and that's really unfortunate. But so we look on once again at this battle between Curtis and Rochford. The gap between Samuel and Johnston is now less than a second.
Oh, has Johnson had a quick lap?
Look at how loose the rears are on the Mustang there of Shady Samuel. No wonder the lap times are coming down as Eric Miles, there you go, drive through for causing a cushion on lap 1. Wouldn't surprise me if that is for that incident that we just saw.
Does seem a fitting penalty for that sort of incident. And you're right, Johnson he's put half a second in Shady in the last half of that.
Indeed, as we now see Curtis under a lot of pressure from Rochford. Rochford going to go down the inside, does have a look. Curtis does defend it a little bit, so Rochford might get a better run, but it's not going to be able to use it going into Radio unless he manages to compromise the line that Ben Curtis takes, but I don't think he's going to quite have the overspeed to do so, so he's going to get chronic understeer going through his. See a 10-second penalty for Callum Lloyd for causing a cushion on lap 1. That was a great run up the Radion for Rochford, but again, the straight line speed of the Mustang is just too good, so he's not going to be able to get moves done there. And meanwhile, Patrick Johnston, excellent work, and he's still hounding the back of Shady Samuel. We might have a race on for the lead very soon as Pete Viney now picks up 15 seconds. So plenty of penalties popping up for the first lap.
And you're right, Pat Johnson is slowly but surely reeling in Shady Samuel here, and with 40 minutes left to go in this race, maybe Shady had a little incident. He's sort of fallen out of his groove. So he needs to, from a mindset point of view, he needs to reset. He needs to refine his groove. He needs to stop looking in his mirrors and watching that purple Bentley edging closer and closer, and just drive his own race. We know that Shady's got the pace in that car. So we're just, for his sake, he just needs to settle, reset, and just start banging out those lap times. We've got 2 separate yellow flags on the track.
666 and the number 9. The number 9 is Charitos, who was doing so well in his first race out of the Academy Series. And the 666 is Gormley further back. So, unfortunately, there, I reckon they were just 2 isolated incidents for different drivers. Just look at how much they're sliding going through the bus stop. That's incredible seeing that sort of slide in these cars as you watch. This is Gormley's incident. Yep, all on his own, just bit of a low speed incident, maybe a little bit too much throttle coming out of the first part of Les Combes.
And, Gormley was in the Mustang last season, and he's obviously chosen the Audi this season, which is a bold move.
Things. Here is the BMW. Oh dear, so that is Charitos, and yeah, just a little too much gas into Pouon.
Ooh.
That's unfortunate.
Has done well there to keep it from bouncing back onto the track onto the racing line there. And
Gormley's had another incident.
I don't know about you, Lexi, but I find that when I'm driving long stints of prep, especially in preparation for enduros, that the tires seem to grain up at about that 20-minute mark, and it seems to be across cars too. So I think that's what we're seeing play out here. We're seeing Shady and Johnson slide around a little bit. We've just seen those 2 separate instances from Charitos and from Gormley. So I think everyone's going through that grading phase now, and like we were talking about before, 2 minutes before with Shady, it's so important when the car starts moving around like this to just stay calm, light hands on the wheel, stay in control, and be conscious and present. If you think about it, you'll drive through this grading and everything will settle down.
Well, that's a bit deep.
Benny Curtis go deep there, which is going to get.
I think this is what allows Rochford to get through. Rochford gets the run out of the final corner, and yeah, he's pretty much already through, so he manages to get ahead. But meanwhile, he's actually fallen behind fellow Porsche driver there in Murphy, by the looks of it.
Is that Murphy or Chalmers that's gone in front of him? We'll need to wait for the timing screen. So I believe that's Chalmers that's gone.
Nope, it's Murphy.
Oh, there you go. Don't mind me.
Yeah, it sucks how it takes a while for it to update as we look at Pouon. I think it's going to be a little bit of a mistake from Rochford. Yeah, just loose on the rear, and that is as easy as you like for Murphy going through Pouon. It's like, thank you very much. And that is P11.
Yeah, there wasn't much in that move, unfortunately. But good to see that Curtis Rochford battle play out. And Curtis kept Rochford honest the whole way down the pit straight there and into that first hairpin. So it'd be good to see these guys now. P11 from back of the grid.
Yeah, that's excellent from Murphy. I did notice there was an additional car that joined in late, so I'm not sure where that was Murphy or whether Murphy just didn't put in a qualifying time, but that is excellent work from Murphy to make their way up the field so far.
So we're coming up on half race distance here, and we've got, I don't know about you, Lexi, but I'm struggling to keep up. There are battles going on from top to tail of this grid. We've been staying in touch with the Shady Samuels, Patrick Johnson battle, and I don't know about you, but that looks closer than 9/10 between those 2 cars there. So we'll wait for
Gobby and Rashidi having a bit of a scrap as well. I did notice that the delta was, the interval was 0.04 of a second. It looks like they've lost touch to a Maddox, and yeah, Gobby's managing to hold on for now, but it's pretty tight between these 2. Oh, look at how much Rashidi's hounding the rear end of the Porsche.
Great battle between these 2, and obviously, Rashidi's a fantastic operator. Been driving that Ferrari for quite a few seasons now. We've seen him up at the pointy end of the grid. So I'm sure Gobby will be sitting on the edge of his seat, trying to keep Rashidi behind him as he is a wily campaigner.
Very much so. As here is a little bit of a taste of what we missed. It's Rashidi up the inside again into Lake Calm. There's a little bit of contact. Gobby does cut the chicane, and I think there are a few questions about whether about who stays there. And I think Rashidi, he backs out and lets him go. As we see Norfolk fifth with a 15-second penalty for causing collision on lap 1. As still there's very, very tight. Gobby has to go a little bit wide, reacting to Rashidi trying to go for it through Blanchimont. Probably just a little bit of a bluff that it forced me into a mistake, which he did. Still very, very tight. And speaking of tight, it's once again tight between Samuel and Johnston because it's 0.4 of a second. One thing that might come into that battle is track limits, because I've seen Johnston go wide on a few occasions. I've seen Samuel go wide on a few occasions. So don't count up penalties from cutting its way into this race.
This is going to be really interesting to watch from the back of Gobby's car, watching Rashidi here. We know that the Ferrari struggles with its aero through this section here. Can he stay connected? It looks like Rashidi's gone off track a little there, but can he stay connected down the Camel Straight? He's had a fantastic run out of there. Whether he stayed on track or not, I'm not sure. And he's going to make the classic Rashidi move. Shows the nose up the inside. Can he make it stick this time? Gobby's wise and sees him coming this side, and Rashidi decides he's going to hold there and fight another day. Up the inside, here we go.
That was excellent from Rashidi.
Fantastic move there. Gobby had no answer there at all.
Because what he did, he showed the nose up the inside. Gobby saw that, left the room, but there was no way Rashidi was ever getting up the inside there. But what he did was he forced the error out of Gobby and was able to get a much better run out of Lecom. So that was well executed from Rashidi. Probably the best move he's done all race. As we saw Norfolk fifth with another 5-second penalty for an infraction, which is pretty rare to see, as Johnston all over the back of Samuel now. Game on for the lead.
This is fantastic. We've got battles all over the field here. And Johnston's done so well to stay in touch with Shady, especially with the straight line speed that's been well documented in that Ford Mustang. So we'll see what Patrick can do here, whether he can just fill Shady's mirrors, get him looking behind him instead of what's coming up. Here into the chicane, I believe, is where we're going. It's hard to know where we're going backwards. Bit of a slide there from Johnson as we head onto the pit straight. And doesn't look like he's going to get a run on him to be able to throw a nose up the inside at the hairpin.
Okay, so getting word in that the infractions are for gaps on the starting grid. So again, just a little bit of new season inexperience coming in for the drivers. They just got to manage those gaps a little bit better as we come into the race starts in the future. But they'll learn from it, then they'll get the penalties for it today. As it looks like there's a lot of inside curb, maybe a little bit of grass there from Shady Samuel, as Rochford now picks up a 10-second penalty for being out of position on lap 1. As there we go. Here come those penalties.
Bit unfortunate for Rochford to, have incurred a 10-second penalty with how close, tight, and fierce we've seen him racing over the last 30 minutes.
Well, Rochford's disappeared. Did he come into the pits?
I thought I did see that car leaving pit lane as the two leaders went past.
Yeah, there you go. 332 has come into the pits and made a pit stop. Has he forgotten it's a no mandatory stops?
Strange.
Very interesting. Because I saw that Curtis was suddenly back up in the P12. I was like, that can't be right.
Very strange. Whether he's forgotten that there's no mandatory stops this race.
Yeah, like the only explanation would be that he's underfueled the car. As we now watch on with Blake Griffiths in the Nissan there, the 64 Nissan behind Pete Viney in the Porsche. Oh, that's very deep from Viney. He's had to cut the chicane. Will Blake try and go for it up the inside? Has a look, but has to back out as Viney was never going to let up. But Viney has to be careful doing that. He could pick up quite a few penalties. He's already got 15 for a collision on lap 1 as Norfolk 5th picks up another 10-second penalty. That's 30 seconds worth of penalties for Norfolk 5th as we approach the halfway mark in this race, which has been very entertaining so far. And we're still handing out penalties for lap 1.
It's been a super busy race, and I thought it was busy just for you and I, Alexi. But Those poor old stewards, they would have gone through a bottle of scotch already. I'm sure the steam coming out of their ears trying to keep up with everything. And here we go again for another run of Patrick Johnson on Shady Samuel. Too far back to make a run into the hairpin. But let's see if they can make something of it going through the most famous section on this racetrack.
It's got a little bit of the grass on the braking, so would have compromised a little bit of that braking performance, and has lost a little bit coming out of La Source, but we'll gain maybe a touch going on the straight, because the straight line speed of the Bentley isn't too bad. You can see how committed they are going through Radion. Breno Ellis isn't too far back from all of this either, so these two make a mistake. He is right there ready to capitalize.
It's a fascinating battle. Fascinating battle. I mean, I think 3 seconds covers the top three, which is sort of as close as it gets to GT3 racing. And as we look sort of further down the timing tree, it seems like everyone's just shaken out and settled down a little bit. We've got this this battle here of Pete Viney, who's got Lloyd in front in the 29 Audi. Pete Viney's going to show a nose up and decides to back out of it wisely by the looks of that.
Didn't quite look committed enough up the inside to be able to make that move cleanly. Needed to be a little bit more aggressive on the braking. Had a little bit of an overlap, but didn't really do anything with it. But maybe hoping that the Audi makes a bit of an error up Radion. It does look like the Porsche's a bit of overspeed now. Will now get a little bit of a run in the slipstream of the Audi. Will he go to the inside as we run down the Camel Straight? Yes, he is. He's going to have a go into Lake Com, and it's going to be Pete Viney up the inside. It should be moved done, but no, looks like Lloyd is still around the outside. That's well held. Very well held. Just stayed on the track, and now Viney's going to go around the outside into Malmedy. You're not going to get many moves done there, but he's still side by side, and Blake Grissus is looking at this going, oh, I hope you have a little bit of a calamity and just manage to part the seas for me. But it looks like Lloyd is going to hold on just to P16.
That was some great wheel-to-wheel battling there and some very clean driving from the two. There was a little bit of a rub there through the final corner, and Blake Group is looking to pick up the pieces now. Has a look up the inside of Pete Viney and decides there's nothing doing. And then Charidos, the AM, straight out of the academy, having a look around the outside of Blake Groups in the Nissan. This is some fantastic racing.
Yes, indeed. No, it's been really, really good to watch. It's been exciting all throughout the field. Like, there's a lot of good battle packs now. Charidos up the inside. Can he get up the inside of the 64 Nissan? No, not on this occasion. But down the straight, we'll see a little bit more action as now Viney gets a bit of overspeed on the Audi, has to react to it. Now, this is going to be interesting, having to go side by side. First through curb Paul Frere. Now, through Blanchmont, looks like it's going to be Lloyd who holds the inside, but coming up towards the bus stop chicane, it's going to be Blake Grissus who gets the overspeed, and Viney has to be careful, nearly chops Blake Grissus off there, but manages to notice that the Nissan was there. Now, Blake Grissus moves has opened the door for Charidos to get up the inside. I'll turn into the outside when we get into La Source, so you'd think Blake Grissus will be able to hold on to it there. But this is excellent racing between these four. This has been super entertaining. It does look like Blake Grissus is going to hold on for now. And Charidos does try a little bit of the over and under, but can't get the overlap going into Origin Radion. It does have a bit of damage, so won't have the straight line speed either.
That is quite a second-hand BMW there of Charidos. I think that's the incident that we saw where they put the front left-hand corner into the wall. So these four, resume fighting positions. In that skirmish, Lloyd has managed to scamper up off the road a little bit and left Viney, Griffiths and Charidos to it. As Griffiths gets very deep into that corner, he's now got Charidos right up behind him, who's now going to go try and do the over-under into this next section.
Yeah, she's under a lot of pressure now, is Blake, as we see Charidos still not able to get through, as we saw a stop and go 10-second penalty there for what looked to be Eric Miles in the 27 Porsche. So that is big penalties there for the 27 Porsche. I think that was the one that was involved in the cricking incident earlier as well, the drive-through. So yeah, not the best day for Miles there, as Blake Grissus is a little bit wide. Will that allow Charidos up the inside? Once again, that turns into the outside as we go into the Fania chicane. So you'd think Grissus will be able to hold on to it, but Charitos is not going to let it go, but I think now has to just settle back into a room. But Blake is under a hell of a lot of pressure.
And he will have a replay on board.
Oh, so that was Griffiths just getting the rear end loose, going through Speaker's corner by the looks of it.
Massive snap of oversteer there, and we're back onto this battle, and we've got Viney and Lloyd neck and neck up ahead as well. It's going to be fantastic watching them going into the bus stop.
Oh, brilliant from Viney around the outside of Blanchimont. Manages to get enough overspeed to get the move done, and well clear of Lloyd now, so should be able to start running away, you would think. But Lloyd very late on the brakes, nearly into the back of the Porsche, but manages to hold it up. And now it's going to be a fight between Lloyd, Griffiths, and Charitos.
Lloyd saying, "I'm not done with this battle yet. Get back here. Get back here, Pete Viney. I'm not going to give it away that easy." And as they're squabbling, it allows Griffith and Charitos back into this fight. As we skip a little bit further up the field, we've got Salvaggio, within touching distance of Aiden Squires here, which is for the silver P1. And we skip back. Lloyd is now under massive amounts of pressure from Blake. Surely the GTR with its legs is going to be able to get this move done. Brave to go around the outside
You're
here.
not going to get it done there, and yeah, not left enough room there. Lloyd
You must also always leaves the space.
Yes.
Always leaves the space.
There was an overlap there, so Lloyd needed to be aware of that, and unfortunately for him, he was just a little bit overzealous on taking more of that outside, but could also argue that Blake should have started backing out by that point, but you can't rely on that.
No, look, as my horrible impersonation there, but the great Fernando Alonso, you must always leave space. Blake deserves space there. Blake definitely deserves space, and that was quite a weird move. I'm going to leave that one on the hands of our stewards. They're the ones that are qualified and lick it up to be able to handle that sort of stuff. Whereas Lexi, you and I are just...
Oh dear, and Charitos nearly into the back of Lloyd, and Blake is reacting to that, now going side by side with Charitos, going through the Lefania chicane, and it looks like might be able to get up the inside into Campus Corner, and should be able to get it done. No, it doesn't get it done, but it was very fortunate that neither of them got collected there, but Charitos running a little bit wide, and Griffiths is now through.
This has been a wild race. So much going on, loads for us to try and sort of keep on top of. It seems like this battle between those four will sort of settle down now. As I start to see a livery creeping up on the back of Charitos there that fills my heart with joy. That's Brad Gosling in the 833 Koala Atlas Motorsport BMW. Brad is one of the best defensive drivers I think you'll ever see. He manages to make that BMW about 4 cars wide. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do coming onto the back of Charitos now. He's within a second. Charitos's car's got a bit of damage. Does it look like Brad's has got a little bit there as well, Lexi, on the back? I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, it's hard to really say. I mean, I reckon there's a few battle scars throughout the field as we see Rashuti pick up a 10-second penalty, likely for that contact we saw early in the race when he was fighting away with Chalmers. So that little contact there is seeing him pick up a little bit of an invoice, but he'll take that on the chin and he'll carry on and try and maximize the gap that he's got behind him to Gobby.
This battle pack here isn't done yet. I don't think we've seen all that this battle pack's got to give. We've still got 4 cars that you could throw a blanket over, Lexi. We've got 7/10 from Lloyd back to Griffiths, and then 1.2 from Griffiths back to Charitos, and then Brad is caught right up onto the back of the Charitos, and he's only 6/10 off the back. We've still got 20 minutes to go in this race. Cars are going to be getting lighter. Tyres are going to be running out of grip. Drivers are going to be on the edge of fatigue now as well. This has been an intense race. There's been a lot going on. You can see by the timing board on the left-hand side that there's been chaos. There've been penalties handed out left, right, and centre. I think we're going to get fireworks in the last 20 minutes of this race, and it's battle packs like these that are running in the midfield that I think are really going to give us some fantastic entertainment. To round out the third and final ACC Simrigs Sprint Series for the week.
That's it. Yeah, it's been very entertaining indeed as we watch from the curb cut on the exit of Blanchimont, Lloyd trying to take it out. That they're all trying to take out that camera there that has been set up by our magnificent broadcaster there, Benjamin Hignett. Hopefully, hasn't paid too many dollars for those cameras there. As Shady Samuel, meanwhile, has managed to build a gap again back to Johnson. So may just be getting beyond that grading period. The main point of contention on the graining is usually on the right hand side, just because of how many corners you're taking, going to the left around here. I mean, yeah, you got Puon, that's really your biggest point, and Blanchimont as well. But the left hand side gets a little bit of a beating because it's a it's a clockwise circuit. So as we see up the inside, the 223 is a little bit of contact there. That's with Anderson and Samuel there, and it looks like Anderson's managed to hold on against Samuel for the moment.
As we jump on board with Aidan Squires in the Ampol Ford Mustang. Not much doing. He's got Salvaggio second behind him and chasing. But this is for the silver class P1. So he's currently leading class. Salvaggio second back, and then Maddox 3 seconds behind those. These guys are looking quite comfortable at the minute. That's a very interesting livery. Is that, whose car is that on the front of?
That's Gormley.
John Gormley's car.
He has a drive-through at the moment because he's had a few too many track cuts and kept it going. So that's unfortunate for Gormley. He's had a bit of a tough race, but he'll be sure to want to bounce back next week.
There's definitely been a few from this race that I think are going to walk away licking their wounds. You know, maybe evaluating their mentality, and hopefully, if they're looking to grow as a driver, watching some of the footage back, trying to understand why they made moves when, whether it cost them or whether it benefited them, and sort of analyze and pick that apart. And like I said, Lexi, this battle pack here it's still got more to give. Still got more to give. You know, we've got 3 cars within a second and a half. One of those being Charados. We've got Lloyd and Charados, 2 AMs, split by Blake Griffiths. This is a fantastic battle.
Yeah, it's still very, very tight between these 3. Lloyd does have that 10-second penalty looming over his head. Griffiths and Charados, no penalties at this stage, so... Oh dear, Griffiths a little bit late on the brakes. That might allow Charados up the inside, but Griffiths in the Nissan gets enough speed on the exit to hold off the BMW for the moment. But Griffiths is just seeing a few of those mistakes creep into her driving, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage it as the race progresses. And also got to keep an eye on those track limits.
Well, what have we seen so far? 2 or 3 drive-throughs handed out, as Blake has got a fantastic run on Lloyd here. He's going to throw it up the inside, shown the nose, around she goes. Both of them have gone deep and lose the rear end. Looks like Lloyd's almost gone round. This is now going to bring Charados back into this battle, but he's just hasn't had the traction. Blake's then gone wide on the left-hand side. Charados is going to throw it up the inside here. He's got the overlap. It looks like it's move done so far. We'll see how much Blake is able to come back at him here. And that's put Brad Gosling right into the mix with Lloyd in the 2 cars behind as well.
Yeah, Charados smart there, just was waiting for the mistake and capitalized, and there you go. Yeah, Lloyd just trying to get back on track as soon as possible to not lose position, as we see our 3rd or 4th drive-through penalty for track limits now from Norfolk Fifth, who's had an awful run of it when it comes to penalties. Still has about 30 seconds of penalties looming over his head as well, so yeah, not going to be an easy one for the BMW driver there, but yeah, well capitalized there from Charados, and he'll look to start moving closer to Viney and Zavaka.
Some great racing for some of these guys that have only just come up through the Academy Series. To be in their mid-pack, big field, challenging racetrack, and going toe-to-toe with someone who's, a well-seasoned operator in Blake Griffith. You know, this isn't her first season. She's been doing this for a little while, so good to see the AMs up there and mixing it with some of the pro AMs.
That's it, as we now watch a little bit of a battle with the Porsches between Gobby and Murphy. Murphy coming from last up to 10th so far. Could be looking at P8 courtesy of Rashuti's 10-second penalty. I've had a question from Bikita in chat what the fastest lap time is. I think in this race it's been a low 17. In qualifying though, Shady Samuel did a 2:15.9, which was like 6.5 tenths faster than the next fastest driver. There you go, 17.2 looks to be the fastest lap time in this race from Shady Samuel so far.
Yeah, that 15.9 that Shady was able to put together in quali was magic. Is that the only 15 that we've seen across the 3 splits for the week, Lexi? I'm not quite sure. Maybe someone
I wouldn't be able to tell you, unfortunately, but still, it is a pretty impressive time given that was sort of the peak of what we were expecting out of it, and getting confirmation that yes, it is the fastest time we've had across the week in all 3 splits. Has got to be a little bit wide. That's going to compromise his run now through curb Paul Frere, and now it's going to be Murphy who's having a look around the outside. Not going to get anything done the Blanchemont, but might be able to capitalize on a bit of a move into the bus stop chicane. It's very close to the rear and going to get a little bit of aero wash, a little bit of dirty air. That will drop him back, but he's now going to show the nose and try and force Gobby into a bit of an error. But Gobby is aware of it and gets a nice run through the bus stop overall.
Nice and neat and tidy from both drivers there. It's so important for Gobby just to stay calm here. Obviously, he's got Chris Murphy in the Pro 101 Porsche behind him as they go through the source, and Murphy's almost pushing him through that corner. We'll see how they both go for a run through Eau Rouge and up over Radion, and see if there's a move that can be made at the end of the Kemmel Straight there. Both cars looking quite tidy. Bit of a hop and a slide there from Gobby, but he's managed to keep it between the white lines. But what that has done is given Murphy a fantastic run up the back. It looks like I'd say he's going to throw it up the inside into the com here. Is he close enough? No, he's not. He pulls back into the slipstream, decides to live and fight another day.
And critical for this battle is that Rashuti's picked up another 10-second penalty. So that means there's 20 seconds of penalties hanging over Rashuti's head. And now what looks like it was pretty tight for whether Rashuti would hold on to P8 or drop down to P9 is now almost certainly going to be dropping down to P10, maybe even P11 by the end of this race. Oh, a bit of a slide there from Murphy coming out of Speaker's corner. That was a great shot from our beautiful broadcaster here in the booth as we once again look at Murphy just a little bit wide going through Pouan there as Gobby continues to do quite well at defending against the faster Porsche behind.
He is fantastic. He's a fantastic defensive driver, Gobby. I mean, look, let's face it. Oh, here comes Chris Murphy. He's going to run up the inside, and looks like he's got the move. Got the move done.
Yeah, just a little bit wide on the exit of the Fania chicane, and that was pretty much all she wrote. But he's still gonna try and get as much of a slipstream as possible behind Murphy, just following him through all these corners now. Through Blanchemont, it's going to be very, very tight. He might actually be able to go for it here into the bus stop. Murphy defends the inside, and I think that will just about be all she wrote. A little bit of a compromised line from Murphy. Can Gobby capitalize? No, he's a little bit wide himself, so that should top that off for Murphy there as we look at a replay. It's a little bit on the inside and had to back out. It's a little bit too much curb on the inside. It was my mistake there. But yeah, nicely capitalized there from Chris Murphy.
Great battle from those two. We'll see if Timmy Gobe's able to put it up through, but you kind of get the feeling that he's just unleashed Murphy there to charge off and see if he can close that gap between him and Rashuti. But with only 10 minutes to go, you can't see that gap being closed. Going back to that battle we were looking at for 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Brad Gosling managed to get past get past Chris Lloyd there in the Audi to move up into 18th spot, and P2 in the AM class. I'm just waiting for the timing tree, but he's now got 5.8 seconds up to Blake Griffiths. So I don't think Brad's going to be closing that gap. Blake still within touching distance of Charitos. She's 1.1 seconds back. Charitos currently holding the AM class P1.
Locking on board now of Gormley, who's had a rough race, and that's just an Audi Tings moment there at the top of Radion. Hold the brakes. Actually, no, did a pretty good job. Realised that there was probably going to be low enough speed, he could just roll off the track and then go on the brakes before going again. So managed okay as the 26 has gone around at the final corner. That's the driver who's a bit further down. That's Braid there in P23. So that's unfortunate. There was P5 in the M class was Braid.
So I'm seeing a lot of Porsches and Audis on the grid this season. There's a lot of brave people getting around in split red.
As we watch a little bit of a replay, this will be now how we saw Brad get through on Lloyd there. Yeah, easy to like, just better run up Radion, and nicely done on the Camel Straight. As Shady Samuel now starting to lose time again to Johnston, who's starting to come back at him once more. Gap down to 1.3 seconds. Could come down to the last lap here for P1.
This has been a great...
Actually, I think there might have been a bit of an error from Samuel, because that's now 0.6 of a second. Never mind.
Yeah, this is...
Samuel is struggling.
Do you think he's fried those rear tyres, do you, Alexi?
I think so, because, yeah, he just doesn't look like it's gripping up the same way it did for him before. I think he's got through a graining process, managed to find a bit more time, but now those tyres are well and truly screwed. And the Mustang is not very good on the tyres, so it's going to be tough for him, but we know the quality that Shady Samuel has, so if anyone can hold on, it would be him.
Well, and let's face it, these four have been pushing it to the absolute limit for 52 minutes now. There's, that gap hasn't gotten bigger that I've seen than sort of 1.5 seconds between Patrick and Shady. And now with 8 minutes to go, Patrick's right on the back there. Let's hope that Bentley's been looking after its tyres, lifting and coasting, staying comfortable in that slipstream.
That's a lot of...
attack.
I think at the same time, camera's on the other side than you would normally expect it.
Yes. Yeah. We're in the passenger seat of the Bentley at the moment.
Oh, look at how loose that is. That might be a track limits, though. So really pushing, and now with Shady Samuel's loss of speed, if he's not able to recover it, Breno Ellis might find himself involved. I think Longley's just a little bit too far back, but yeah, Breno Ellis is now within 2 seconds of Patrick Johnston. We've got a fight on our hands, and it could be a three-way fight for the race win here. As looks like Johnston just compromised his run a little bit through turn one, so loses a bit of time overall compared to Shady Samuel. But we'll see what the run is like through Eau Rouge and Radion. It looks like on this occasion, it's much better for Shady Samuel than it was before.
It's going to be so important for Patrick to be patient and pick his move here. Like we've sort of spoken about all race, stay away from those 50-50 moves. Make sure that you're right on the back of the car. You can find a move that you can commit to, throw it up the inside where you've got the space, and force the other driver into an error and force him to go the long way around. So it's going to be fascinating to stay with this lead three for the last sort of 3 or 4 laps of this race and see whether Patrick can mount an attack or whether Shady's done enough to be able to just hang on. What this does mean, though, Lexi, and I think for sort of one of the first times in Split Red in the last couple of seasons, is we're going to be on for just a tantalising battle the whole way through Split Red in each and every class. This battle between Samuel, Johnson, Ellis, and Lee, and then with the likes of Ricciuti and Murphy sprinkled in on there, that's going to keep this pro battle really exciting. Squires, Salvaggio, Maddox, Gobby, and Zach Jensen. I mean, that sounds like a recipe for fireworks between those four. And then, you know, Chalmers, Curtis, Zavaka, Viney, and Griffiths. So the whole way through this class structure at Split Red, we're going to have some really interesting battles going on front to back, and I'm here for it. Lexi, I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to watching this season play out.
Yeah, well, this is only round 1, and we've got 10 of these rounds coming your way from now all the way through June. So be ready, be prepared, because it's going to be exciting as Breno Ellis is now right there. We've got about 3 laps to go in this one. It's going to be tight all the way to the finish between Samuel, Johnston, and Ellis. Who is actually going to take this one? We've got all of our predictions. We had our safe bet. We had our 2 potentials, and Longley there is still holding on, but just a little bit further back. Johnston, though, I think has the overall pace, but Ellis is really starting to show some speed in that Audi.
And this is where the Mustang's such a strong car. You know, Shady's able to make little mistakes through the corners, but then the Mustang and its big old V8 has got his back, and the Camel Straight is so long that even if Patrick has been able to look here, he's closed right up to the back of him, but he's just outside of that touching distance. He's not able to affect a move because that Mustang is so strong and a great line, and it's one of its greatest weapons. You can make a mistake through some of this tricky stuff here, and you just know that big old Coyote V8 is going to have your back, and it's going to keep the people behind you. As we jump onto the rear wing of Shady here, and Patrick is hustling this Bentley. He wants nothing more than to get past Shady.
He's wide.
Oh, he's lost the rear end, and he's gone wide there. Just evident of tyres letting go, which brings Breno Ellis right back into the fray. Is he going to throw it up the inside through the chicane here? No. He's the smart play here is I'm not going to make a 50-50 move. I've been listening to Sam and Lexi commentate in my ear, and I'm going to wait until it's a sure thing before I throw it up the inside.
Yeah, and yeah, look, that gap was 0.5. Now it's 1.5 seconds, and I am just wondering whether fuel comes into this, because they would have fueled based on the number of laps they would have expected to do over 60 minutes. We've had no safety cars. The pace of this race has been so fast. I'm just wondering whether these drivers have enough fuel to make it to the end.
I think so. I mean, we were chatting about that in the comms box before, as Breno Ellis is getting tantalisingly close to the back of that Bentley here. I wonder if Patrick's just a bit shook. He's just lost a bit of confidence in that car through that last section. And, you know, and I've said it before in this race, and I feel like it's something I'm going to say all season, Lexi, but Patrick needs to look forward. He can't look at his mirrors. He can't let that green Audi behind him distract him. You know, he needs to think about apexes and exits. He's probably got 2 more laps that he's got to hold on for, and he'll run away with P2.
Yeah,
but Breno's right behind him.
Ellis won't be able to make a move now. He's cut the chicane, cut the top of Raddy on there, so won't be able to make a move, but doesn't have enough speed to really make any impression on Johnston. But yeah, you'd think that mistake from Johnston will just give Samuel enough of a buff, and yeah, look, just gained a 10th through that first sector. I wonder where the marbles on the tyres has just caught Johnston out for half a lap or so, and now is just starting to get himself back into it, but now doesn't have the slipstream off of the Mustang and isn't gaining nearly as much. So Samuel might now have this one in the bag, but you never know. There will still be one more lap after this.
Yeah, I think we'll get one more. And just looking down the timing tree, Ben Curtis in P11 and Pete Chalmers in P12 for the Pro-Am lead here, and we got Pete Chalmers 6/10 off the back of Benny Curtis, so that could be a bit of a spicy battle there. I don't know how much movement we're going to see, whether it is between these top 3. I think it's all going to come down to we need to see a mistake from one of them. You know, I don't know whether Breno has got the overall pace in that Audi to be able to catch up and get through Johnson without Johnson having made a bit of a mistake, but that gap between P11 and P12 is slowly creeping down. So I think we've got one more lap. Actually, it's been a hell of a race. I don't know about you, but I'm out of breath.
Yeah, it's been so entertaining from start to finish. There's been quite a few incidents to look at. There's also been just some brilliant side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel racing as both Johnston and Ellis go a little bit wide. Blue flags may play a part in this one as we got a bit of a blue flag there from the BMWs on this last lap as Pete Chalmers up the inside and they've made contact. And Curtis is around and that's almost certainly going to be a big penalty coming the way of Pete Chalmers. We only caught the end of that incident, but it looks like Pete Chalmers was just, as you said earlier, a day late, a dollar short. And yeah, that is too aggressive. Way too aggressive from Chalmers, and that's going to be a big penalty coming his way.
Back. Like he came from a football field back there. He was trying to kick a field goal from the other end of the field. You know, with less than, I mean, we've got no minutes to go.
It's the last lap. Like they were on the second last lap of this race, and that was moved. There was a lot of desperation coming into it, but there was still time. Chalmers had the speed. And now he's probably going to get penalized for it. He's going to have probably a 15-second penalty applied, and Curtis is going to take it out regardless.
Well, yeah, definitely. By the looks of it. Well, looking up and down the timing tree, it's obviously been a bit of a messy race. There are so many penalties up and down there. But, you know, have we got any really tight battles? You know, we've got Maddox sort of 8/10 off the back of Salvaggio for P2 in silver. Ricciuti 9/10 off the back of Maddox there for P7 overall. As we slide our way down, we just saw how the Chalmers and Curtis battle played out. So we'll leave that one alone in the hands of our very qualified stewards. And then Charitos looks like they're going to sort of drive away first race in sprints, and they're going to take out P1 for the amateur class. So I don't want to put the mocker on anyone there with half a lap to go, but that's a fantastic result. Brad Gosling, P19 overall, and P2 in class.
Yeah, really well done from them. But out front, we have the top three all together. As there we go, 15-second penalty as I expected for Pete Chalmers. That's going to drop him behind Ben Curtis. But out front, it's going to be Shady Samuel, who gets the Grand Slam. He fastest in qualifying, fast lap in the race, and wins round one here at Spa for the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series in Split Red. Johnston got close, but not close enough. Ellis rounds out the podium with Longley in fourth. Aiden Squires is going to win the silver class and round out your top five. Salvaggio in P6, just ahead of Maddox. Ricciuti will finish in P8 on the road, but he did very, very well to break clear enough of Gobby, and he will only drop behind Murphy by the looks of it to P9. Gobby will round out your top 10 there. There'll be Chalmers on the road, but he will drop down to P13, so it'll be Jensen, then Curtis, your Pro-Am class winner for this race, barring any dramatic calamities right at the end of this one. But Gobby, there you go, rounding out the top 10 as we watch. This is what happened with Ricciuti here and Maddox. It looked very tough. Oh, Ricciuti with a big moment, nearly straight into the wall. So could have ended very poorly for Ricciuti, but he's managed to get through in the end. Jensen does finish P12 road. That'll be P11 after Chalmers penalties, and there you go. Curtis will win the Pro-Am class. Chalmers will be in second, followed by Zavaka by the looks of it. Although Griffiths is very close to that 10-second marker, so it could be tight there. But regardless, Charitos had a few little moments in this race, but will still take out the M-Class win in his first in the overall Simrigs Sprint Series, straight from the Academy Series. Well done, Charitos. Brilliant.
Great driving up and down the grid. Great driving. What a race. That was fantastic to watch. It was an absolute pleasure to commentate. I'm so looking forward to watching this season play out. I think, you know, there's been some messaging from the OOR staff. Whoop, that was a little tap. Poor Blake. She hasn't been able to stay out of people's way all race. She got a little tap while celebrating there. But there's been some messaging in the background from sort of some of the senior drivers and the OOR staff that they're encouraging people this season to really have a crack. To probably put themselves up a class where they'd normally just sit back. And I think what we've got is a really fair, a really balanced class spread for Split Red.
Agreed. 100% agreed. It's really really well managed.
So I think, and so overall, the top three had Shady Samuel from Patrick Johnson from Breno Ellis, Longley, and then Squires taking out your silver P1, followed by Salvaggio and Maddox, then Raschuti and Timmy Gobe to round out your top 10. Then we've got three there, so Timmy Gobe taking fourth, Zach Jensen in fifth for silver. And if we go to Pro-Am, Benny Curtis surviving there to take out Pro-Am, followed by Chalmers and Savaka, with Blake Griffiths coming in to pick up fourth. The Am, like we said, hats off to Charados, first race out of the rookie series and taking out the win there, followed by Brad Gosling in second and Lloyd in third. A fantastic race there from Lloyd and from Afif there in the BMW GT3. I think they win the award for the most penalties this race. So be really interesting to see in the coming races how far up they can take that BMW up the timing tree.
Yeah, certainly had good pace, but yeah, just a bit error prone today, unfortunately. But that will just about round us off for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week with the usual affair of Split Yellow and Split Green on Wednesday nights. But until then, I have been Lexi Bowen and have been joined by Sarah Bryan. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we will see you all next week. But for now, bye-bye.